100 years ago, after the revival of spirit qi, it became the most fundamental energy in the world. Under the influence of spirit qi, living creatures evolved into two directions. One was a wild, ancestral regression, which enhanced their physical power. The other was spiritual mutation, which focused on energy-based attacks. And in turn, humanity developed various spirit qi professions like spirit beast observer and spirit beast material analyst. Someone was leisurely scrolling through his phone. He received a question about what to do if someone got bitten by a ghostly thorn bristle spider. This silver-haired guy who was resting on his bed answered the question. He told the one asking not to panic and to drink plenty of hot water, lie down in a well-ventilated area to prevent the body from stinking. A paw reached out to this guy. The creature complained that it was hot. This creature was named Smarty, and he was a 100 questions beast. He complained to this silver-haired guy named Lin Yuan that it was so hot. He climbed Yuan's head because he heard that it was cooler up high. But Yuan looked at him like he was dumb since his head wasn't that much higher. Smarty opened the window. He became so happy when the breeze blew. In that building, Yuan did some chores. Yuan was 18 years old, and he was an owner of a small spirit creature shop. Although the people of the world could use spirit qi to promote the growth of living creatures, for him, it's like an impossible fairy tale. He had been frail since he was a child, and he had been completely unable to sense the existence of spirit qi since he was 8. He can't improve his physical condition with spirit qi like a normal person, let alone contract with high-grade spirit creatures. He checked a species called Lily Loira. It was of normal grade, and its quality was from normal to low-grade spirit creature. He realized that blocking the light with a cloth wasn't enough. The weather's too hot, and there was no way to cool things down. Smarty saw that Lily Loira was about to wilt. As the lowest-grade healing type spirit plant, it was just not competitive. It was even worse than the green creeper vines used for fodder. In the world since the spirit qi revival, all spirit creatures were divided by grade and quality. Anything below copper grade was considered low grade. Almost no one was willing to spend resources raising low-grade spirit creatures, because by comparison, high-grade ones were much easier to evolve. Just like how in the last 100 years, no one has ever heard of 100 questions about evolving. A flying bird-like creature named Yin Yin arrived to deliver Yuan's medicine. The species of this creature was a sound bird. He thanked Yin Yin for it. With a body as weak as his, just contracting with low-grade creatures like Smarty and Yin Yin left him dizzy for 2 weeks, let alone sensing spirit qi to raise them and help them level up. An hour later, they looked bored. Smarty asked if humans loved to sleep in because there was still no one on the street. Yuan asked what he was talking about. He decided to call everyone's attention by telling them that they have green creepers. A little girl holding a cat was with her mother, and they passed by. She noticed the 100-question beast, just like Keiki, the one she's holding. Smarty welcomed them and offered green creepers. Keiki commented that Smarty's fur was so dry and gray that it was obviously a leftover. It couldn't be compared to her. Naturally, Smarty was offended. He argued that they were of the same species. He challenged her with rock, paper, scissors if she had the guts. Yuan told him to calm down. Also, there was no way they could play rock, paper, scissors with those paws. He suggested a walk to cheer him up instead. They left, since it's not like they have any customers anyway. Smarty suggested that they buy meat. He tries to justify it by saying that if he eats a few more braised pork, he'd definitely get smarter and he wouldn't have lost. Yuan looked like he was holding back his laughter. Yin Yin tried to cheer up Smarty by telling him that even though he wasn't as smart as the other 100 questions beast, he's cheap. Smarty replied that hearing that made it worse. Yuan felt bad that he couldn't sense spirit qi. Smarty yelled at him to look at his left. To his surprise, there was a blunt, armored pig. He wondered what it was doing near the park. He thought that something happened at the farm. Smarty, while drooling, attacked this wild mountain of braised pork that had appeared. Yuan grabbed him since he's just going to get himself killed. He couldn't possibly beat it. He noticed that it was angry. By nature, they were very gentle creatures. Normally, what Smarty did shouldn't have made it furious. He ran as fast as he could as the blunt armored pig chased after them. Yuan was feeling more tired than usual. Smarty noticed his breathing and asked if he was okay. Suddenly, he tripped. He hugged Smarty tightly to protect him. Yin Yin, despite being obviously scared, protected him. Smarty, too. He was ready to face this braised pork. Yuan could feel that he's about to pass out. He told them to run. Unexpectedly, his consciousness was transported. Someone called his name. He saw a large copper bracelet. He recognized it. It was the copper bracelet that he lost when he was 8. It disappeared after his blood got on it. The light traveled towards his wrist. As the bracelet glows brightly, Yuan starts feeling a familiar sensation. It was the spirit key. He hasn't been able to feel it since he was 8, and now it was back. He wore the bracelet on his wrist. He got up. Smarty, who was being chased by the blunt armor pig, saw that he had woken up. Yin urged him to think of something. But even with that little bit of spirit key, there wasn't enough time to do anything. His wrist glowed, and so is Yuan's left eye. He saw a status window of this blunt-armored pig. Its name is Zai, it was a normal grade level 3, and a defense type with a normal domain quality. He could see the information quickly, and seeing that it was at level 3, he got worried because Smarty and the others weren't even level 1. He told Smarty to dodge since it was going to attack from the right. But it wasn't enough. Even if he barely dodges, the gap in their strength was still too big. He needed more power. He wished that the bracelet was contracted to him. Yin unleashed sound waves as revenge for hurting Smarty. Yuan noticed that the light was the same as the one on Yin. Smarty and Yin's bodies glowed. Yuan thought they were evolving because of the bracelet's power. The blunt-armored pig roared loudly. Smarty tried to hold on so he wouldn't be blown away. He asked Yin how the pig's voice was louder than her. Yuan knew that even if they were evolving, the gap between level 1 and level 3 was still too big. He's aware of the pig's weak point, though. Smarty expressed that the braised pork was too strong. Yin asked Yuan on what they should do. He instructed Yin to sing to get its attention. Any notes would do as long as it was loud enough. She gave her best, and her off-tune affected the pig. Luckily for Yuan, she was immune to this after being a sparring partner for over 400 times before. The pig turned its attention to Yin and started chasing her. She realized that she had become a substitute for Smarty. Yuan instructed her to turn and attack its eyes because if it can't see, it would stop. Yin was about to use a move. Her body glowed, but it didn't push through. She finds it strange that she can't use that move anymore. Yuan's spiritual power ran out at the worst time. He begged the bracelet to hold on a little longer. Yin felt the energy coming back, so proceeded on attacking. She guided her feathers to cover the pig's eyes. While the pig shook off, it was Smarty's turn. Smarty dashed towards it. He targeted a specific area on the pig, and that was its nose. The pig ran to retreat and accidentally hit Smarty, and that made Smarty dizzy. He confirmed with Yuan if they had won. Yuan, who was barely holding himself up, replied yes. They were amazing at chasing it off, and then he lost consciousness. Yin and Smarty got alarmed. The pig ran as fast as it could, but it suddenly stopped when someone blocked its path. There was a man in a wheelchair and a beast on his lap, and he was being assisted by a woman. He wondered why there was a blunt-armored pig there. The woman's eyes widened. When she saw the feather from the pig, she was able to recognize it from the little one at Yuan's house. She told old Li that she's going to leave the blunt-armored pig to him while she goes to find Yuan first. He told her to hurry up and go. Li's eyes turned red as he borrowed the power of his beast. Yuan's consciousness was back at that place again. He had lost count of how long he's been walking there since he had dreamed it. It was the place where the bracelet was. He thanked it for sharing its spiritual power to him in times of crisis. As if it was responding, the bracelet glowed brightly. Yuan estimated that the place was about 40 to 50 square meters. He wondered if that was the so-called internal space of a spirit creature. He asked if it was its ability. Yuan checks the status screen of his spirit creature, Mobius, an unknown species at normal grade level 1 with spatial and mystic attributes. Mobius has 2 basic skills: true data, which extracts hidden information beyond what the eye can see, and calm mind, a passive skill that stabilizes the spirit and can resist negative statuses as it levels up. Yuan already knows the power of true data, and he suspects calm mind may have formed from helping Yin practice her singing. He was surprised to see that it has an exclusive trait. Usually, only those that have reached bronze rank have them. A normal grade having an exclusive trait led him to think that it could be a legendary divine treasure or a fantasy breed. Mobius possesses unique traits. It can house spirit creatures whose initial level cannot exceed its own. It only levels up when the housed creature does and copies that creature's initial skill without gaining new ones upon leveling, and each rank advancement increases its housing capacity by 1. After reading that, he realized that it could only form a contract with a level 1 normal grade spirit beast, and Mobius could only level up after he raised it. To contract 1 more, he had to raise a level 1 spirit beast until it advanced to a rank which was level 10. Raising low-rank spirit beasts was already incredibly expensive. At this rate, even someone with a fortune would be broke in minutes, not to mention how broke he was at the moment. He tried to think of it positively since it was better than nothing. At least he could feel spiritual power now. And maybe in the future, there would be a chance to turn things around. Suddenly, he heard someone ask the doctor why he wasn't waking up when it's already been half a day, and the diagnosis was just mental shock and some weakness. Yuan recognized that voice to be Auntie Jiang from next door. He realized that it was time for him to get out. When he woke up, Yin Yin was pecking on him while Smarty was slapping him to wake him up. He got up and told them that he was fine. He asked why they were so worried that they couldn't even speak properly. Auntie Jiang was relieved to finally see him awake. The doctor informed him that his auntie was worried sick. He was given another checkup just in case. Yuan replied that it wasn't necessary, but Auntie Jiang pointed out that he was unconscious for almost 10 hours. She lectured him to get treated if he's sick, especially if he doesn't want a small illness to turn into a big one. He had no choice but to agree and lay back down. Uncle Lee and Auntie Jiang from next door had always taken good care of him and his little sister, but he deemed not to tell her yet about forming a contract with Mobius. When the doctor used its beast, the data was displayed to Yuan. The spirit creature was a cleansing vimbacarp under the species Cyprinini/Cryprinus. It was an elite grade level 4 water-type elite quality creature. It has 2 skills. The first one was the tail sweep, where it leaps up and strikes with its tail. The second one was cleanse. It gently absorbs nearby mental trauma to help soothe abnormal mental states. As expected of an elite grade, it had such a rare skill. The doctor declared that everything was fine. Then he headed out since he has a wife waiting at home for dinner. The red and white beast of old Li brought them dinner. Li made that nutritious meal just for Yuan, but Auntie Jiang didn't force himself to eat it. But of course he wouldn't dare. Smarty and Yin Yin got excited because it smelled good and it was braised pork. When he saw the rabbit, he remembered how it has always been pretty mysterious. It was not as lively as other terror rabbits. His curiosity made him take a look, but all its details were all just question marks. He realized that it wasn't a terror rabbit at all. After recovering, Yuan went out to jog. He was already out of breath. He had been jogging for an hour every day since he got out of the hospital. It was still intense for him. Since he doesn't have any spirit chi, he had to build his body up from a young age. He should also probably give up on combat professions and consider a life-type one. Uncle Lee and Auntie Jiang had bought vegetables, and on their way back, they saw him. Uncle Lee asked if was up early for a workout. He replied that he was trying to stay healthy. Yuan used his skill to Uncle Lee, and it showed him details of bone-devouring worms. Its source was a worm of rotting bone, and it was at platinum rank or higher. It has a biological toxin element which causes mental curse. The rotting bone silkworm burrows into flesh and sacrifices itself to form a bone-devouring gangrene. Uncle Lee sealed such a potent toxin in his leg for years. It led him to conclude that he must be at least king grade. If that was the case, he speculated that Uncle Lee's beast must have been injured too and was taking that form to recover. What was certain was Uncle Lee had been hiding some serious power. They told him to call them if he needed anything. Yuan told them not to worry much about him. They had been taking care of him since then, so it made him want to know if there was a way to heal Uncle Lee's injury, and if he could do it. He changed his clothes and went to his shop. The first beast there was the green creeper under the Hexastar family creepvine subgroup. It was at normal grade level 1, a grass type and of normal quality. He was surprised to see that it turned into an elite one when it was just normal quality yesterday. He realized that his spirit ki was leaking out. He was channeling it into spirit creatures, making them absorb it and evolve. He tried to raise the difficulty and make the green creeper a healing type Lily Loera. The beast changed form, and when he checked, it had become a Lily Loera under the Crassulaceae family, Ionium genus. It was at elite grade level 1, a wood type, normal quality, and it has the skill heal where it recovers external injury and the skill fragrance where its volatile, crisp, grassy scent could relieve tension. He was glad that it worked. With its skill now, it was at least 10 times more valuable. He called out to Smarty and Yin Yin to take a look at it. Yin Yin happily announced to him that they had leveled up. He checked their stats, and Smarty, the 100 questions beast under the Felidae family, sapient cat genus, is at normal grade level 2. This creature is a psychic type with normal quality skills. His skill was precise memory, which could accurately remember every last detail when memorizing things. Smarty proudly states that he used to be able to remember 1 piece of braised pork, but now he could remember 30. Then he checked Yin Yin's stats. She's a sound bird under the warbler family, song lover genus, and she's at normal grade level 3, a sound-type creature with normal quality skills. She demonstrated how her singing had improved so much. Yuan was so happy. He claimed that he had found his golden finger, and they're going to be rich. Then he realized that it was more than just getting rich. Evolving a spirit creature was incredibly difficult. Aside from the very few creatures that evolve naturally, most require a creator to use vast amounts of precious materials and medicines just for a chance at evolving a spirit creature that has reached its threshold. And yet, he could do it all by himself. He realized that it was an unbelievable ability. Countless people would kill for it. One wrong move, and as the saying goes, the tallest tree catches the most wind. Yuan was aware that he can't protect himself yet, so he took a mental note not to let this secret out. To use this ability safely, he has to become a creator, step by step. Using that profession as a cover was the only way to stay safe in the long run. Otherwise, he'll just be asking for trouble. He was deep in his thought that he didn't notice the phone ringing until Yin Yin and Smarty pointed it out. He remembered that someone would come for her to contract her first beast creature. It was Xiao Shui. She asked how he was feeling. He replied that he's feeling much better than before. He was planning on cleaning the backyard too. That surprised her. She got worried because he doesn't have any spirit key to back him up. She told him to leave the backyard alone until she gets home. He assured her that it was nothing major since just a bit of tidying up. He told her not to worry. He reminded her of their promise, that she would study hard at school and not waste her talent. She replied that she already knows. And she was determined not to let him down. At school, class was in the next 2 days, and they'll be contracting their first spirit creatures. It was an important event. While a spirit creature's quality and grade were crucial, the spirit quite professional's own level also affects its performance in battle. For combat professions, the compatibility range also differs for each type. If they choose a spirit creature that doesn't align with their own affinity, it would be very difficult to form a contract, and they could even suffer damage to their mental power. Even for life-type professions like artisans or weavers, they need a deep, long-term understanding of spirit creatures to be able to fuse spiritual materials together. What's more, their class was geared toward training combat-type professionals, so synergy between their spirit creatures was something they must consider very carefully. The class was dismissed. Shui was told to stay behind for a moment. The teacher asked her if she wanted to reconsider the spirit creature that she's contracting. She's aware of her family situation, but her talent was exceptional. The Federation's 100 Sun selection was coming up, and she was advised not to let this opportunity pass her by. She became gloomy after that. Meanwhile, at home, Yuan was glad that he was done. He upgraded 300 Lily Luaras to elite grade. It should be worth at least 20,000 Federation coins. With this, he'd be able to buy a high-grade spirit creature for Zui to contract. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was from an unknown number. He thought it was a new customer. The timing was perfect because he was about to call it a day. He asked who that was. The person on the other line raised her tone as she asked if he was Yu's guardian. He was told that Yu plans to contract a gray beetle. She had an exceptional talent, and that would be a waste. A gray beetle was a normal grade spirit creature that can be bought for 200 coins. It was extremely aggressive. Its skills were worthless. And, basically, no one contracts them. They're only good as feed for high-grade insectivores. The teacher informed him that Shu's affinity range covers all defense-type spirit creatures. There were probably only a few people in all of Violet Thorn City with that kind of talent. She demanded that the Guardian prepare an elite-grade defense type for her first contract spirit creature. He replied that he understood and thanked her. He promised to send a suitable spirit creature to the school within the next 2 days. For an elite grade, he would need to get at least 100,000 Federation coins. He was short on time. He had to upgrade all those normal grade green creepers to elite grade, and then sell them to get a top-tier elite grade defense-type spirit creature for Xiao Shui. The next day, Yuan looked like a zombie after a whole night of spirit key transmission, but he was glad he managed to finish on time. The spirit creature market was a sketchy place, so he covered up even the bracelet just in case. He asked Smarty if he was really sure that he wanted to come along. Smarty replied yes, and his statement, "A good Smarty was a Smarty that guards the house," doesn't work on him anymore. Besides, haggling was one of the duties of 100 Questions Beast. Yuan had noticed that Smarty had gotten stubborn and disobedient since he evolved. The ride had arrived, and the driver told the passengers to wait behind the yellow line. The bus was drawn by a spirit creature horse. The bus looked different from what Yuan knew. Smarty replied that it was because he was reading history books and not a modern transportation guide. A century after the Spirit Key revival, all sorts of spirit creatures have replaced some of their old steel machines. The driver told them to hold on tight, then they sped off. It was really fast and Smarty fell out of the window. Fortunately, Hao was able to grab him. The driver asked Yuan if he's heading to the spirit creature market too. If so, he picked a good day for it. Yuan asked why. The driver asked if he hadn't seen the news. A couple of days ago, a dimensional rift opened up about 30 miles outside Zia County. It took the Violet Thorn Guards 2 full days and nights to hunt down all the aberrant insects that poured out and get the situation under control. They say a squad of Violet Thorn Guards were still stationed nearby. The rift happened to open right next to a spirit creature breeding base. The creatures were either killed or injured, and few of the employees who escaped were selling the remaining injured ones at the market. Now they knew how that blunt-armored pig got out. The driver told him that a bunch of blunt-armored pigs escaped, and he managed to snag one for a cheap price yesterday. He shared that once it was served on the table, his whole family dug in and they hung up the rest to cure. Yuan replied that he's amazing, and he requested to be dropped off at the intersection closest to the stall. It was great since critically injured and disabled spirit creatures definitely won't be too expensive. There were bargains to be found. Moments later, Yuan got there and looked around. Smarty told him to leave the rest to him. He asked what kind of spirit creature they were buying and their budget. Yuan replied that it would be a defensive elite-grade spirit creature, and for the price, it would be around at least 100,000 Federation coins. Smarty was shocked because they only have less than 20,000 in savings. He planned to trade the Green Creeper and Lily Loera that he upgraded last night. A normal-grade Green Creeper costs anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000, so even if they trade 20 of them, they are still short on money. Some plants caught his attention because it seemed like they were calling out to him. He can now clearly sense the instinctive approach and rejection from other spirit creatures. The lighter the glow, the more friendly the aura. He noticed the clear pond carp, nether orchids, snow lilies, 1,000 jade hands. He wondered if his affinity range really that wide. He had a high affinity for healing and support types, and plant-type spirit creatures were instinctively drawn to him. Zhu's affinity was with defensive types. Smarty showed him something. The seller's price was at 80,000, but Smarty haggled it to 10,000 until the seller's final offer was 60,000, and Smarty insisted on 20,000. The spirit creature that was being negotiated was a tough-hide rabbit from the species Leporidae rodentia. It was an elite grade level 1, a defensive type, normal quality, with a skill called Hardened Hide, which makes it grow a tough keratinized shield over its skin to block damage. Yuan apologized to the seller for Smarty's reckless behavior. Smarty was displeased because he would have gotten it for 20,000 if he had just kept haggling. Yuan whispered to him and suggested that they shop around first. The next thing they checked was a land tortoise from the species Tetsudinidae, Geoshalone, a normal grade level 3 defensive type with normal quality. Its skill was called Enlarge, where it increases its body size, retracting its head and limbs into its shell to help block damage. Yuan assessed that the grade was too low, and he doesn't have time to level it up. Smarty added that it moves slowly, too. After that, they saw the phantom clawfox from the Vulpidae/Golosus species. It was an elite grade level 1 defensive type at normal quality. It has the skill called Rollout, which curls its body into an arc and moves by rolling, blocking damage with its spirit-packed sound. It wasn't much different from the rabbit. Smarty added that it wouldn't be able to protect Shui because it's shy. Smarty suggested considering the tough-hide rabbit again. Yuan wanted to keep looking because he had to be really careful about this. After looking around, he was at the last one. It was a coiled horn sheep under the Caprini ovis species. It was an elite grade level 7, rock type, at perfect quality. It has the parry skill in which it uses its large horns to block and defend. Also, its horn assault slams into a target with its large horns. From the herd, Yuan saw a perfect quality youngling, and it even has a control-type spirit beast skill. It has everything the other has except for horn assault because in place of that, it has the shock horn instead. This allows it to strike a target with vibrating horns, causing paralysis through high-frequency vibrations. Yuan wanted to buy it for 100,000. The man told him to wait because he'll call his wife to check. Smarty told Yuan that he checked the prices online yesterday, and a coiled horn sheep was only about 50,000. Even a rare one would be 90,000 at most. He was acting like a nouveau riche behavior with his offer. Yuan explained that he was just showing sincerity. He commented that Smiley was still green when it came to haggling. The seller gave him 120,000 Federation coins as the last prices. Both Yuan and Smarty think he was a ripoff. Yuan felt sad because there were no other defensive spirit creatures left. If that was the case, it might come down to paying the overpriced coiled horn sheep. Suddenly, a seller announced that the spirit beast meat was all sold out. The buyers could see more heavily injured spirit beasts, and they suggested that he butchers them. Yuan's eyes sparkled when he heard about the heavily injured spirit beasts. Smarty reminded him that it wasn't the time to be thinking about braised pork. The man felt sorry for those poor creatures inside, and to the buyers that he kept waiting. He encouraged them to take a look. There were only 3 left, so he promised them that if they buy them, they would definitely be guaranteed a profit. Most of the people left because they wanted a butchered one already. They had no idea how to heal them and the money to hire a creator, so they weren't interested. Yen went to the front, and the seller informed him that he's too late since they were all sold out and the stall wouldn't be selling beast meat anymore. He clarified that he wasn't there to buy meat, but instead, he'd like to see the spirit beasts inside. Yuan noticed that the boss looked unstable, so he thought that if he negotiates it now, he might just be kicked out. But he's different now. He has the skill Calm Mind, and seeing how the seller calmer now, it looked like it took effect. The seller told him that he's not that old and he could just call him Brother Yang. There were 3 heavily injured spirit creatures inside, so he took them there. He showed them to the web-spraying spiders. They looked healthy enough from the front, but their abdomens have been torn open. At that rate, they won't last more than 2 days. Smarty complained that it stinks. This web-spraying spider was under the species Araneomorphi/Aranidi. It was a normal grade level 10, poison type, perfect quality spirit creature. It has the skill called Lay Thread, where it spits out sharp, hard-to-see, spider silk along its path of movement. It also has a poison net, which sprays a web net laced with toxins. Yuan knew that if it weren't for the dimensional rift, they would have become a copper rank spirit creatures in no time, so they were a great find. If they weren't injured, they would probably sell for 300,000 Federation coins on each star net. The seller told him that support-type spirit creatures with control and poison abilities could sell for even higher, but now he'd be lucky to get 150,000 Federation coins for both of them combined. Yuan expressed that he wanted to buy those 2 web-spraying spiders, but he doesn't have enough money on him, so he suggested trading them for spirit creatures. Brother Yang shared that after he's done with that batch, he's planning to open another spirit creature breeding base and start over from scratch, so he might not necessarily need the spirit creatures that he's offering for trade. Deep inside, he realized that kids would always be kids, and he had his hopes up for nothing. Yuan asked if he would change his mind if they were elite-grade green creepers. The seller asked if he wanted to trade elite-grade green creepers. He checked what the quality was. Yuan was confident in their quality. He encouraged him to come to his place and inspect them first. Brother Yang knew that elite-grade green creepers were priceless. Anyone willing to sell them usually asks for double the market price. He showed Yuan the last spirit creature that they have left. They poured their hearts and souls into that one. It was a rhino rock ox under the species Bovidae/bison, an elite grade level 10 earth type. It was of epic quality. It has the skill called Rock Horns, where it coats horns in rock and launches a reckless, self-sacrificing charge. The other skill was called Sacrifice, wherein, when its contractor is harmed, it willingly takes on a share of the damage. Yuan's eyes glimmered when he saw that. He asked how much it was being sold for. It was a good choice since it was an epic quality creature that was about to reach copper rank, and it's a defensive type. Perfect for Shu. Brother Yang asked him if he's serious since his condition wasn't good. He replied that it was perfect. He suggested buying it at 200,000 Federation coins. Brother Yang asked him if he has a way to heal the rhino rock ox. He considered that the kid had a creator backing him. Brother Yang confirmed with Yuan if he's going to take all of those 3 in exchange for the elite grade green creepers. Yuan assured him that the green creepers won't disappoint him. Smarty seconded that Yuan doesn't lie. Brother Yang believed him, and now that he would be taking all 3 spirit creatures, he could pack up his stall and they'll head out in a bit to see the green creepers. Good thing he has the spirit lockbox right there. He'll just pack up the rhino rock ox and the web-spraying spider and bring them along. He threw it, and it had become larger. Smarty asked what it was. He replied that it was a spirit lock box. It's a patented invention from Ostrich Logistics. They could store spirit creatures inside, and their size adapts to the box, and their weight is negated, making them light and easy to transport. Smarty was surprised to learn that there was something that good. He asked how they had never used one. Yuan replied that their family never had the spare cash for something like that before. The rhino rock ox entered. Smarty couldn't believe that something that huge would really fit in there. Brother Yang felt sad that the Rhino Rock Ox would never get the chance to evolve into a copper rank spirit creature like the spirit box in copper rank. After that, he released his tumor-crowned fire lizard. This is from the Lizardae family horned lizard genus. It is at copper rank 7 out of 10 and at normal quality. For skills, it has shedding fangs, in which, during a bite, it can detach its teeth, leaving them embedded in the target's body. It also has a death roll wherein, after biting a target, it twists and rotates its body with its mouth as the core to rip away flesh and bone. It has an exclusive trait, which is the burning venom wherein proliferating poison glands connect to the salivary glands, infusing its saliva with a burning toxin. It cuddled on him. He was proud of this spirit creature, so he asked if Yuan thought it was impressive too. Yuan was so impressed that he checked it thoroughly. It was a rare chance to observe a copper rank spirit creature up close. Its burning venom trait gives it a powerful offensive edge. Brother Yang had observed that he's incredible to have mastered the specialized knowledge of a spirit creature researcher at such a young age. He thought that if he's not a natural prodigy, then he must have a master guiding him. He bet that he made the right call on this one. Suddenly, someone called Brother Yang. The other vendors complained that he suddenly summoned his tumor-crowned fire lizard all of a sudden. Their tough rabbit hide became too scared to eat. It was the same for the fairy monkey, too. He apologized and informed them that they would be leaving at once. Yang, Yuan, and Smarty rode the tumor-crowned fire lizard, and they sped off. It was way faster than a thick hoof donkey cart. Eventually, they have reached their destination. Brother Yang commented that Yuan's place was closer than he thought. He also noticed that Yuan was in great shape since most people can't help but feel sick their first time riding one of those. But it was nothing to Yang, because the real thrill to him was riding a flying spirit creature and looking down at the world. Despite how sick he and Smarty looked after riding, he still thanked him because it was the first time he rode a copper rank spirit creature. He opened the door while setting his expectation that the place was a bit plain and telling him to make himself at home. Brother Yang subtly observed the place, and he could tell that it doesn't look like a place where a creator would be living in seclusion. If the kids' green creepers weren't up to par, then their deal was off, since business is business. He was thinking of that until he saw the green creepers. He was fully convinced that a creator was involved since it was impossible to cultivate elite-grade green creepers of such high quality without a creator's help. It was far beyond his expectations. They were really prime quality, considered to be rare items that few merchants could even find on the StarNet. Before those green creepers evolved, he added energy ore to the soil, so their root systems were all developed. Yuan was confident that there were no problems with their quality. Brother Yang saw that the sap from the cutting was so rich. He realized that the kid wasn't exaggerating when he said it was top-tier elite grade. He was hopeful that his luck was finally turning around. He recalled his experience when he visited a master creator. To get their help, one must offer them the spirit materials they like. At his level, he had no way of obtaining those materials, so he thought of getting on Yuan's good side. Yuan asked if he's satisfied with those green creepers. He replied that he was very satisfied, and it was time for them to talk about the price. He acknowledged that all green creepers were prime quality, elite grade. They would sell like hotcakes on the StarNet for 30,000 apiece. His best offer was 3,000 per pot, and he'll take 100 pots. Smarty was shaken when he heard those numbers, so he tried calculating it. Yuan readily accepted the offer. He happened to need a large quantity to raise his spirit key profession rank, and green creepers were the most convenient way. It was no small transaction, and yet Yang noticed that the young man was completely calm and unflappable. He thought Yuan was used to big deals. He started thinking that the ordinary clothes and small shop was a smoke screen set up by the person backing him. He asked how many days he needed to prepare the goods. Yuan replied that he needed 7 days. He came up with that after considering that he spent an hour per pot, 2 days to deliver spirit creatures to Shui, and factoring in time to rest. Meanwhile, Yang was thinking that he had received a blessing in disguise and his luck had finally turned. After the exchange of Rhino Rock Ox and Green Creeper, Yuan instructed him to pick them up in 7 days. Yang asked if he's certain that he doesn't want a deposit for the remaining 70-plus pots. Yuan replied that they could just settle the full amount when he came to pick them up. He told him he'd be back in 7 days. Yuan replied that he'd see him then. After that, it was time for the most troublesome task. He placed the Rhino Rock Ox in the backyard. Yin asked if he was going to live with them permanently. Smarty replied that they can't afford to keep him. Yuan responded that they have to save him first. The Rhino Rock Ox was already extremely weak, so he had to hurry. He used his skill and saw the scars slowly recovering. After he confirmed that it was working, he sped up a little. He unleashed more power. The rhino rock ox started making loud sounds. Yuan wondered what was happening. It was like the rhino rock ox was encased in a crystal. He thought that it was a barrier to advancing to copper rank. They continued on, and it was already dusk. Eventually, nighttime came and they were still at it. He was with this big fella and smashing the wall. Finally, a crack had formed, and a powerful energy erupted. It was a success. The rhino rock ox had become an iron-horned rhino ox from the giant horn family bull genus. He was at copper rank level 1, 1 out of 10, metal type, normal quality. It has the rock horn skill where it coats its horns with reinforced metal to deliver a reckless, self-sacrificing charge. And also, the skill sacrifice, wherein when its contractor was harmed, it actively takes on a portion of the damage. And then, for the exclusive trait, Yuan could choose between scaled hide, wherein it grows a layer of scale-like armor on its skin's surface, composed of the same material as its skin. Another option was the tireless trek, which conserves stamina while running, and lastly, pain siphon, in which it absorbs an option of damage taken and converts it into life force. Yuan was having a hard time deciding on which exclusive trait to choose, because out of 3, 2 were pretty good. A skill like tireless trek was completely useless for a defense-type spirit creature. As for scaled hide, it should create a relatively thick layer of scales on its body, besides increasing its defense. The scraping from the scales could add a bit of damage during a charge, but it was still pretty good. But with Pain Siphon, it could absorb a portion of the damage it takes and heal itself at the same time. It makes it a skill for a tough brute that begs to be hit. Getting tankier the more it attacked was really great, and so he chose that. Now, its status is complete. If Yuan used rock horns and Pain Siphon properly to create a positive feedback loop, it's less of a defense type and more of a heavy offense type spirit creature in defensive clothing. It's the perfect first spirit creature for Zhou. Yuan was confident that no one would dare to get near her now. Funnily, Smarty commented that it would make Shui and the iron-horned rhino ox a beauty and the beast combo. But Yuan didn't care about that since the most important thing was Shui's safety. And besides, he pointed out that Smarty was a beast too. Yuan could feel that his spiritual power increased too, aside from the iron-horned rhino ox ranking up. The higher the rank of the spirit creature he evolves, the more spiritual power, feedback, he receives. Just getting the iron-horned rhino ox to break through to copper rank took almost all of his strength. If it were a top-tier creator, using all sorts of heavenly and earthly treasures, he wondered what level it would evolve. Smarty, drenched from the iron-horned rhino ox's licking, asked how he's going to send it to Shui. He replied that he's going to do it with the ostrich logistics. He just made some money, and since he was in a hurry, he placed an express flight order and they would soon be there to pick it up. Smarty got excited when he heard that. He wanted to fly like Yin Yin. Meanwhile, at the Hui Yue Palace, a person talked about using 3 portions of patchouli sprouts, 1 portion of sunken sea ebony, 1 portion of platinum beast blood essence. It was all placed in a vial. A military personnel asked the city lord what that is. The esteemed woman beside her warned him not to speak out of turn. And then a solid item was dropped inside it. It produces a powerful energy around it. And then a woman with blonde hair added a red liquid. And thick red smoke covered the area. Those 2 people behind him felt the immense pressure just from him concocting. It was even forcing out their protective spiritual aura. They had just witnessed a 5-star creator. This creator told them to summon the spirit creature that they wish to evolve. This woman is the Moon Empress, one of the 3 5-star creators of the Radiant Federation. The man named Sikong, a king-grade expert, felt relieved. Ling Xiao, the lady of Violet Thorn City, a king-grade expert, smiled and reiterated that he has nothing to worry. Sikong thanked the Moon Empress, then he summoned his spirit creature. She poured the content of the vial on it, and this black tiger with red marks showed its belly. Sikong got worried. Moon Empress assured him that it was fine. It was just evolving into a legendary grade. He would need to fuse the will rune that he had comprehended, and it would evolve into a fantasy breed. He thanked her and vowed to serve her like a loyal dog. He would go through fire, ADN water, and die 1,000 deaths for her. The spirit creature's eye changed. It roared loudly. It woke up a cute rabbit with a crescent mark on its head. Seeing it being woken up, the black tiger with red marks started to tremble. Moon Empress told him that going through fire and water won't be necessary. But she brought up the issue about the selection of creators. Each promotion exam was held every 3 years, and they could only advance 1 level at a time. Given that procedure, they couldn't select truly talented creators that way. Sikong confirmed if she's suggesting that for that year's exam, 1 examinee could test for multiple levels consecutively. She clarified that it would only be from level 1 to level 2. She wanted anyone who passes the level 1 creator exam within 2 hours to be exempted from 3 lifestyle profession exams and could directly take level 2 exam. She told him to go and give the order. He replied yes. Xiao inquired if it was because she felt that no exceptionally talented young people have appeared in the Federation's creator exams in recent years and that they couldn't even comprehend a single will rune. Moon Empress clarified that it was a merely private matter for her. As fellow 5-star creators, both Bamboo Lord and Kitchen Sovereign have taken apprentices. Naturally, she didn't want to fall behind those 2 old fools. She was surprised that Moon Empress was going to take on an apprentice. Moon Empress added that the dimensional tide was approaching. Violet Thorn City was the city with the most aberrant insect dimensional rifts. As its lord, they must be diligent in their duties to protect the land and its people. She wanted every rift to be guarded, and failure was not an option. Xiao, the city lord, assured her that she would take care of the Violet Thorn City. Meanwhile, Yuan was high up in the air. The driver asked him if he's all right and assured him that the ride would get smoother once they were above the clouds. Yuan suppressed the urge to vomit. The driver noticed that his 100 questions were lively. It was a shame that they were overloaded on the trip. Otherwise, they could have brought it along. Earlier, Smarty threw a tantrum because he wanted to fly, but he couldn't go. Yin held him and reasoned that she's flying him already. Yuan promised to bring back something tasty. Yuan told the driver that it was okay since there would be plenty of other chances. He was told that they're already there, so he should go sightseeing. It was such a magnificent view. The moonlight illuminated the river, making it look so magical. Yuan agreed that it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Then he sensed something condensing in his sea of consciousness. He wondered if that was a will rune. A will rune was the essence of a certain attribute that a spirit key professional comprehends from the natural world. It could be understood as a necessary item for cultivating a fantasy breed. When Yuan held the will rune in his hands, he became certain that it was truly a will rune that represents mountains and rivers. He thought of the types of spirit creatures it's suitable for. But he got distracted when the driver asked if he's all right. He replied yes. Then he asked how long till they reach the Violet Thorn City since they had been flying through the mountains for a while now. They won't reach it until morning. Yuan was surprised since they were expected to arrive before dawn. The driver explained that it was because he had to come along and got flight sick at the beginning, so he had lowered the speed for him. Yuan replied not to mind him and went full speed. The driver did what was told. At the academy. The students were confused because they were supposed to contract spirit creatures that day, and yet they were gathered in the training grounds. One of them explained that their schedule was changed. Right after contracting spirit creatures, there was a practical combat class. It was such a surprise that the practical combat class was moved up so much. They heard a rumor that it was because of the selection for Violet Thorn's 100 Sons. All the academic year's course schedules were moved up just to pick out the truly talented people. It was deemed the truth because one student had a friend from another school who complained to him about it. The teacher told them that the session informed them that the practical combat class for 3rd year grade, and it also served as the first practical combat drill for the 1st year combat class. In a moment, after the students have formed their contracts, they would be matched against 3rd year students for practice battles according to the numbers they draw, to familiarize themselves with their spirit beasts' skills. The female student beside Jue expressed that she was nervous. She asked if Shui would really contract a gray beetle. Shui replied yes. She held it in her hand. The battle started, and a blunt armor pig chased after a small spirit creature. The 1st year's gliding squirrel has fled the battlefield, so the 3rd year won. One 1st year student complained that it was unfair. They had just signed their contracts, and now they're battling their seniors who already have combat experience. The situation was completely one-sided. Shui was next. She was the best in their class, so they hoped she raised the flag of their class. The teacher announced the 9th battle. He asked the candidates if they're ready. The 3rd year replied yes. The 1st years recognized him. He's Feng Lixing. His family has a relative in the Creators Guild. Lixing was participating in the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons and was just a few practical combat victories short. Shui was highly regarded too, but there was a problem with her spirit creature. Deep inside, Lixing felt lucky. He had just received the news from the Creators Guild last night, and now he ran into this bunch of stepping stones to rack up his win rate. To him, it felt like heaven was on his side. Not just the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons, but even becoming a disciple of the Moon Empress was now much attainable, and he's not far from the meteoric rise. He also heard that the 1st year named Zhu plans to contract a gray beetle. If that was the case, she doesn't even have a sliver of a chance to win. Xue was determined. She wouldn't give up even if she only had that gray beetle. She was about to say that she's ready when someone called her. It was her teacher. She was dragging a spirit creature. It was the best that she could do. It was a yellow-spotted dog in elite grade. She didn't want her to waste her talent on a gray beetle. Suddenly, someone told them to wait, and a large bird flew across the sky. Yuan jumped and landed near them. He thanked the teacher for her kindness and informed them that he brought Shui's spirit creature. Shui was surprised to see her brother. He was glad to have made it in time. He encouraged her to trust him and form a contract with it. The teacher was suspicious, though. She probed if they could truly rely on it because if not, there's the yellow-spotted dog, though. It's not very obedient. Lixing laughed out loud. Then he told them that it doesn't matter what spirit creature it was, because whether it was a gray battle, a yellow-spotted dog, or anything else, he was confident none of them could defeat his longtime spirit creature, the Strength King Beetle, a copper rank level 1 insect from the Scarabaeidae dynastini line, equipped with prime skills like Giant Horn Ram and Valiant Charge, and an exclusive trait, Insect Observation, which lets it see through the camouflage of spirit creatures below copper rank. The teacher got nervous because it was a huge Strength King Beetle. She knew that even the yellow-spotted dog couldn't take a single hit from it. Shu asked him if what he gave her was a copper rank spirit lockbox. It made her wonder how their family got so much money. One of her theories was that her brother sold the store. He told her not to overthink it and focus on the task at hand first. She promised him that she would be fine. She wouldn't let his efforts go to waste. She released the spirit creature and the contract was formed. The students asked what spirit creature was that, because they had never seen anything like it. Its skin was steel. Lixing admits that its entrance was impressive, but he still has the advantage of combat experience. He pitied them for being bankrupt, just for getting a big iron OC that was about to lose. Shui responded that they wouldn't know it until the match was over. She made the iron-horned rhino ox use rock horns. The teacher was thrilled to see the copper-rank iron-horned rhino ox, and its atavism was very thorough. It could be called the cream of the crop among copper-rank defense-type spirit creatures. Its rhino horn alone was worth 700,000 Federation coins. Yuan reminded her not to evaluate it purely based on money. She explained that it was a professional habit for a spirit creature analyst. The rhino horn clashed with the beetle's horn. Lixing called Shui naive for attacking so carelessly. After that, he was ready to show her the fighting power of a power assault-type spirit creature. He used the giant horn ram. Xue made the iron-horned rhino ox hold its ground, just a little bit, and they would have pushed the ox out. Lixing noticed that Xue was truly talented, as she was able to use spirit qi to support a spirit beast so soon after the initial contract. The teacher was relieved that it wasn't knocked out of the field directly. She commented that Xue was reckless. She attacked because she was just provoked a little. It just showed her lack of combat experience. But Yuan knew that wasn't it. If Xue familiarized herself with the iron-horned rhino ox's skills the moment she contracted it, then attacking proactively was a tactic to probe the enemy. The students got confused on what the beetle was doing since it was running fast around the big iron ox. Lixing heard them, and in his head, he thought of them as idiots. There was no other reason that a power assault-type spirit creature starts moving, aside from finding the perfect opportunity to land a fatal blow. He uttered that the little girl must not have imagined what she's about to face. The beetle charged. Xue got worried about the iron-horned rhino ox, but she couldn't see clearly because the whole area was covered with smoke. It was such a powerful charge that they already expected that the big iron ox wouldn't make it. The opponent was a power assault-type spirit creature, famous in school for its one-hit kills. Even the teacher thought the same way. It was hopeless even if Xue tries her best to channel spirit qi to help it stabilize, and even if it withstands the first hit, it would just be worn down by the constant assault later. They complained that making a third-year fight, a first year in a practical match, was just too unfair, but Yuan thinks it's fine because he had chosen a skill exactly for that kind of situation. Xue instructed the iron-horned rhino ox that it's time. It activated the pain siphon. The students were all confused. The spirit qi around the iron-horned rhino ox changed, and its wounds were healing. They were curious if it was one of its skills. When the teacher heard about pain siphon, she got excited because it means that it could absorb a portion of the damage received and convert it into vitality. It was a rare, exclusive skill. Yuan was proud of Xue. Even though it was her first practical combat, and her first time seeing an iron-horned rhino ox, she could still control the situation and seize the opportunity. Lixing shouted that even if it has an iron hide, it was just a slightly tougher punching bag. He made Strength King Beetle continue the attack. The students were amazed with the iron-horned rhino ox because its life force hasn't lessened at all after so many hits. But it just kept taking damage. The teacher probed Yuan if the iron-horned rhino ox that he picked doesn't have a single counterattack skill. She couldn't take that. Zhue was just taking hits without fighting back. He told her to calm down and reminded her that she said Zhue has an affinity for defense-type spirit creatures. He trusts that she must have her own plan. Lixing instructed the Strength King Beetle to settle this in one blow. He wanted him to use the giant horn ram with all his might. The Strength King Beetle did what he was told. Zhu activated rock horns. They couldn't believe that iron-horned rhino ox used the field directly. It was questionable if that was even allowed. Meanwhile, Yuan was so proud that she adapted to the terrain. It was a great move. Lixing got annoyed that she resorted to cheap tricks. He instructed iron-horned rhino ox to smash them. Debris flew everywhere as the Strength King Beetle continued to charge. Zhu made the iron-horned rhino ox continue using the rock horns. Their horns clashed. The students' jaws dropped when they saw the big iron ox withstood it. They couldn't fathom that the two were evenly matched, but they could tell that the Strength King Beetle had the upper hand. The teacher started to explain that it's because the Strength King Beetle skill, Giant Horn Ram, was a self-sacrificing attack that disregards its own injuries. And when facing the iron-horned rhino ox's defense, each attack also caused some damage to the Strength King Beetle itself. Furthermore, this Strength King Beetle was likely specially raised according to Lixing's own preferences, pursuing only maximum attack power and precise attack locking. Therefore, the possibility of its attack being blocked by a spirit creature of the same grade was overlooked. Yuan knew that the high-attack, high-quality training method was meant to seize suppressive power in a duel and end the battle quickly. But there's also a case where Lixing couldn't defeat an opponent quickly. They saw the Strength King Beetle slip. They thought that Zhu was just lucky, but her teacher informed them that it's not luck. Although they were both spirit creatures, when it comes to a prolonged struggle of strength, the body balance of an insect-type spirit creature just can't compare to an iron-horned rhino ox. Besides, the contractor's mental state also affects the spirit creature's condition. These were all points from the textbook that students should know. Lixing was getting annoyed that a mere first year not only contracted a copper rank spirit creature, but is now blocking a power assault type spirit creature's attack with a defense type. He felt that fate screwed him over. He ordered the Strength King Beetle to create some distance and attack the little girl on the other side directly. Strength King Beetle jumped away. It rolled towards Zhu. The teacher complained that it was against the rules. Yuan hoped that Zhu could dodge it. Zhue instructed the iron-horned rhino ox to continue using rock horns on the ground. It made cliffs, and the Strength Beetle hit one of those, causing it to fall at the edge of the field. Because of that, the match has been decided. Shocks washed over Lixing's face. They declared Zhu a winner. The first years celebrated that they had finally won. Shui's teacher finally understood that the repeated use of rock horns was to accumulate enough rocks on the field, making the final rock horns powerful enough to flip the Strength King Beetle. The student that had high expectations didn't disappoint. She pats Yuan at the back while commending him on getting his hands on something good. Yuan told her to calm down because her slap was quite powerful. Zhu ran and hugged her brother. He congratulated her. She pouts and probes him where the money came from. She asked if he sold their shop. She also asked what would happen to his illness if they didn't have money. She was worried for his health. He told her no and assured her that he's all better and business was booming. The teacher didn't want to interrupt, but they were out of time, so she was brief. She told Yuan that with Zhu's talent, the school hopes to recommend her to participate directly in the preliminary section for the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons. The Violet Thorn's 100 Sons selection was the most basic regional selection. The ultimate goal was to qualify for the Radiant Federation's 100 Sons selection. That was the truly top-tier national competition. Even though Zhe was only a first-year high schooler, her talent was enough to be selected for the Violet Thorn's 100 Sons preliminaries. The Academy's educational resources would also be fully devoted to her, and she would definitely grow very quickly. Yuan thanked her for taking care of Shui. He assured her that he would pour all his effort into Shui's spirit creatures and resources from then on. She replied that nurturing a good seedling was also what she ought to do. She told Shui that if she didn't have a class for that afternoon, she could show her brother around the school. Yuan was worried about the yellow-spotted dog. The teacher told them that she could raise it herself. After going around and getting snacks, Yuan emphasized that he could sense spirit qi now. He asked what other proof she needed. She wanted to see it with her own eyes to be relieved. She knew that the iron-horned rhino ox must have been expensive. He showed her bank account, and her eyes widened when she saw how many zeros there were. He informed her that after his spirit qi recovered, he discovered he has some talent as a creator, so he took a job with it and earned some money. He encouraged her to just focus on her studies and go participate in the selections and get good ranking. She also doesn't need to work part-time to support the family, and Yuan revealed that he also plans to take the creator certification exam. She was happy for him. He invited her to celebrate and eat something good. She expressed that she wanted to eat hot pot. He was fine with whatever she wanted. Meanwhile, the teacher asks the yellow-spotted dog if it eats meat buns. I think the real MVP for this is this teacher. I wish all teachers are like her. Anyway, Yuan booked the ostrich logistics again to get back home. While on the ride back, he thought of putting more effort too now that Shu's studies were on the right track. After all, exams weren't that easy. He had to buy the beginner textbooks for the spirit creature researcher and spirit material analyst later. There were quite a lot of books. He thought of seeking Smarty's help too. During that day's practical combat, although Shui only seized the opportunity because of the skill's damage reflection mechanic, her stable and sufficient amount of spirit ki was the cornerstone of her victory. But compared to her, his spirit ki amount wasn't enough to be called a true spirit ki professional. Even if he wanted to level up Mobius, the exclusive trait Lock Spirit had harsh conditions. It has to start from normal grade level 1. He was surprised when they suddenly flew so fast. The driver was showing off the top speed of the black-winged falcon to get good reviews since Yuan was almost late when he dropped him off earlier. Yuan told him that he still has things to buy, and the driver suggested that he just place an order on StarNet via Ostrich Logistics, and it would be delivered the same day. When they arrived home, the bird was already drained. Yuan asked him if it was still okay. The driver assured him that there was nothing to worry about. Now that the trip has been completed and everything was delivered just as he wanted, the driver reminded him to give them good reviews. Yuan promised he would, and then he thanked them for their hard work. He had tons of boxes at home from his online shopping. He planned to set up an online store so in the future, he won't need to go to the spirit creature market, which would be safer. He announced that he's back. Smarty and Yin Yin welcomed him back. Smarty missed him, but Smarty stopped himself because he remembered that he was supposed to be angry. Yin Yin told him not to be angry since she had already taken him for a flight. Yuan promised him that he would take him next time. Smarty was stubborn to the point that not even braised pork would cheer him up. Internally, Yuan thought of his behavior as childish, but the good thing was he came prepared. He told him that he had an apology gift for him. Yuan opened the can of cat food. Smarty couldn't resist it since it smelled so good. Because of that, he shortened the duration of his anger. Yuan told him that if he liked it, he'll buy it for him every day. Yin Yin asked if there was something for her. Yuan happily showed her an elite-grade green creeper exclusively got her. That pot would be her personal ration from then on. It was a surprise that he offered her that because previously, he wouldn't let her eat it. Smarty noticed Yuan carrying the boxes, so he asked him if he's not eating. He told them they could eat first because he still had to sort out the goods. When he was done, the store had been filled with pots. Even Smarty commented that it was way too much. He admits that he didn't really expect there to be so many. Yin Yin noticed that there was a different plant, so he checked it. There was a card that notified him that the purchase of 100 pots of green creepers makes him entitled to receive 1 Lily Luara of the same grade for free. He didn't expect them to have that kind of promotion. Then Yuan remembered that the spirit creatures that suited him were healing type, support type, and plant type. His eyes sparkled as he claimed that it was exactly what he needed, a healing type plant spirit creature that has healing skill at normal grade. He instructed Smarty and Yin Yin to stay downstairs and take good care of those green creepers. Upstairs, Yuan got to work. He used the exclusive skill, Lock Spirit. He hadn't rested in a long time, so his mental power wasn't in its best state. But since he already started, there's no turning back. Eventually, he completed the Lock Spirit. He was pleased that, unlike before, there was no drain on his mental power at all. As long as he kept injecting spirit ki, he could start chain leveling next. An hour later, the Lily Luara became an elite grade level 1, legendary quality. Its skill was heal, and it recovers external injuries. Yuan was relieved that the leveling was finally complete. He checked Mobius. Its species was still unknown, but it had leveled up to elite grade level 1, legendary quality. its skills remained the same. He was surprised when it suddenly glowed brightly. He was transported to Mobius's lock spirit space. He noticed that it was bigger than last time. Suddenly, someone spoke to Yuan asking if he could hear him. He replied that he could hear him loud and clear, and he greeted Mobius that it had been a while. Just a mini lesson from Zhu. When a spirit professional forms a contract with a spirit creature, it consumes mental power. A person could contract 2 to 3 spirit creatures in their lifetime, with the known limit being 5. Lock spirit was Mobius's exclusive trait. It can achieve the same effect as forming a contract, but the contractor does not need to expend any extra mental power. Instead, the cost was borne by Mobius. The number of contracted spirit creatures was determined by how many times Mobius had leveled up. And the price was, for the first 10 years after Yuan formed a contract with Mobius, his ability to sense spirit chi was reset to 0, and his mental power was abnormally weakened. But if Yuan was being honest, currently it wasn't still so great. Back to our boy, Yuan confirmed with Mobius if he could really speak now. Mobius replied that reaching elite grade was enough for him to be able to do that. I think the design of Mobius is really unique. He then asked if that space was Mobius's exclusive ability. Mobius replied yes, and Yuan, his contractor, could modify it at will and store spirit creatures. Yuan asked about the function of the pool since he couldn't sense any spirit chi on it. Mobius clarified that there was truly no spirit chi because it was just ordinary water. It confused him. Mobius clarified that water brings wealth. Yuan commented that Mobius really has a personality. He threw something on the water. And just as he expected, even low-quality energy stones used in flower pots could still effectively emit spirit chi. In the external environment, it was inevitable that some spirit chi would dissipate, and the usage efficiency cannot reach 100%. But the lock spirit space prevents spirit chi from leaking out. If better energy stones were put in, the spirit chi would become very rich over time. Yuan was thrilled when he realized that if he strengthened spirit creatures there in the future, the efficiency would be many times faster. Mobius confirmed that, and as he advanced in rank, the usable time would also increase. Yuan knew that all of those would require a massive amount of Federation coins to support. Even the lowest quality energy stones couldn't be considered cheap, let alone high-quality energy stones. So, making money was imminent. Mobius's body started to dissipate, and Yuan started to get worried about what was wrong. He clarified that it was nothing. It was just because he could only maintain that clear state of communication for half an hour every day. The time was just up. He was the first spirit creature that Yuan contracted, so he was sorry about his mental power and spirit chi perception for the past 10 years. Yuan replied that it didn't matter, since those 10 years also allowed him to figure out a lot of things. Besides, now he has hope again, and the road ahead is still long. The challenge had only just begun. However, for Yuan at that moment, sleep was the greater force majeure. He was deep asleep. Then the next day, he used his powers on the green creepers again. While Smarty was just surfing the net, Yuan worked hard for several days. When he was done, it was late at night already. Yin Yin and Smarty were deep asleep. He went to another room and used heal to the 2 web-spraying spiders. Now, they were saved too, and that was the fruit of his leveling exercise. 7 days later, Brother Yang had arrived in front of Yuan's store. Before entering, he prayed first that he would get a chance to turn around his life this time. Then he thought about it and admitted that producing 100 pots of green creepers in such a short time was indeed too difficult. He was so lucky that he was to run into a spirit creature store with a creator behind it. He opened the door. Yuan expected him. There was no denying that it was because Yuan agreed immediately to their deal, and he had an urgent need. Yuan showed him inside. Yang already conditioned himself that it would be fine even if only 30 pots were completed. It was just enough to have hope for his newly rented spirit creature breeding base. He looked to the right and saw the pots. And on his left, there were several more pots. There were pots everywhere. Yuan informed him that they were all there. He initially wanted 76 pots so he could just pick those pots out of 100. He was in awe. He admits that Yuan saved half of his life. Yuan told him that there was no need to flatter him. Brother Yang told him to name the price and he won't haggle down a single cent. He told him that the original price was fine. Yang was touched that he had met a noble person in his life. He would definitely know he was his sworn brother. He informed him that he would buy it at the original price. Before he left, he told him that he would get his breeding base up and running, so he must come to visit him then. And if there were good things, he would save them for him first. Seeing how happy Brother Yang was, Yuan realized that being a creator was a really good profession. Now that the room felt empty, it was time for him to restock. He asked Smarty if he had already figured out the StarNet registration he asked him to learn a few days ago. Smarty yelled that something bad happened. It made Yuan rush to his side. He was crying when he went to Yuan and told him that he got fat and couldn't eat energy biscuits anymore. Yuan assured him that his fur just got fluffy. And looking at his stats, Smarty had leveled up to elite grade. Yuan asked if he felt that he became smarter. He replied yes, but he believed it was because of his own extraordinary natural talent. Before, he could remember 1 energy biscuit worth of things before. Now, he could remember as much as 5 energy biscuits. Yuan noticed how Smarty's favorite changed from braised pork to energy biscuits now. He told him that he would have a lot of things to ask for his help with. Smarty confidently replied that he could trust him with it. Yuan looked for Yin. At that moment, Yin yelled at them that something bad happened. It was the same scene again, and Yuan knew what was coming. Yin showed herself, worried that she shrunk. She wondered if she was sick. Smarty already knew what to reply, that she just leveled up. He asked Yuan if that was right. Yuan checked her stats, and she was already at elite grade level 2. Her skills were Sound Spike, wherein she fires a spike made of sound towards a designated target, and Turbulence, where she flaps her wings to generate continuous, rapid, and irregular airflow. Basically, it looked like her skills were for combat. Yuan asked why they were unrelated to singing. Smarty admits that they secretly tested their skills. He showed him a board. Yuan asked if the marks were caused by a sound spike. Yin replied yes and shared that they played by themselves when he wasn't home. Smarty suggested that they try again to see if the power has increased. Smarty held the board, and Yin told him that it was dangerous because it was too close to the target. Yuan began the sound spike experiment. Smarty told her that it would be fine because her aim was quite accurate. His eyes widened and his jaw dropped when Yin attacked. Now he was convinced that it was too dangerous. Yuan pats his head to comfort him. Next, they tried Turbulence. Yin unleashed it and shattered the plank. Yuan noticed that the power was far comparable to when it was normal grade. He realized that Yin was an authentic combat class spirit pet. The goods had been delivered to Yuan's place, and he was asked to sign the document. Meanwhile, Smarty suggested that they test Yin's skill again because he bet that she could now pierce through an iron plate. Yuan refused because they had done it several times already, so Yin was already tired. He opted to let her have a good rest, and he pointed out to Smarty that 100-question beast was a different type, and he would have a use in a while. Smarty encouraged him to tell him whatever it was. Yuan instructed him to feed those 2 web-spraying spiders. Smarty was nervous when he did that, because he might get bitten. Yuan noticed that fearing arachnids was the instinct of most spirit creatures. Yuan was just teasing him and helped him later on. Then he instructed him to record the information of the spirit creatures in the store. From then on, matters to the data would be handed over to Smarty to manage. Smarty noticed that the web-spraying spiders were emitting different lights. The one on the left was green while the right one was purple. Yuan knew that it was the sign that they were about to advance in rank. They sprayed webs and turned themselves into a cocoon. Smarty was impressed that Yuan had made those 2 advanced at the same time. Yuan explained that it was the same with the iron-horned rhino ox back then. They were already in a state awaiting evolution, but unfortunately met with an accident and were heavily injured. After replenishing enough vitality, advancing was just a matter of course. 2 hours later, the spider came out. One of them had an evolutionary direction towards prehistoric reversion. Its exclusive trait was fierce poison, which causes its body, including the webs, to carry intense toxicity. The other one went on a spiritual mutation. Its exclusive trait is sticky web. It increases the stickiness of the web, making the web-spraying spider's controllability stronger. Smarty was amazed that they were actually completely different evolutionary directions. Yuan admitted that he didn't expect it either. It seemed like Brother Yang had laid a good foundation. Smarty asked if they were going to sell them. He already registered the shop on StarNet. Yuan decided to take a look. He asked why they still have to input a shop name. Smarty specially left it for him so he could participate too. He started typing. He chose the name No Lost Spirit Creature Store, and his username was Deep Mountain Old Forest. Smarty commented that he went through so much trouble to apply for the shop, and it was given an old-fashioned name. After that, Yuan confirmed if the StarNet receiver had been installed. They still have to test the StarNet card later. He was informed that it was almost done. He scanned a card. They were impressed with its scanning. Yuan tapped the card on the pots, and then they went inside the room where the spiders are. Smarty asked if those spiders needed to be scanned too. Yuan replied that it was the top priority, and then Yuan playfully scanned Smarty like he was attacking him. After playing for a bit, their background changed. Smarty asked where they were. Yuan told him that it's the storefront inside StartNet. The complicated application procedures weren't just for an ordinary online store. Smarty was impressed by how big the place was. It was twice the size of their home. Although StarNet was a world composed entirely of data, the data actually exists in reality. It's just presented there in the form of a virtual image. Smarty wondered why the decorations from their home weren't there. Yuan replied that it was because the decorations inside StarNet cost extra money. It was for such a practical reason. Yuan learned to navigate the menu bar. And after that, they went to the StarNet community to look around. Yuan told him not to run around. Smarty's eyes sparkled when he saw a pig that could serve at least 80 meals of braised pork. Then he pointed out a store to Yuan. It was a furniture decoration store. Yuan decided to check inside for furniture that they could decorate the shop with. An intelligent robot approached them and asked what furniture they needed. Smarty was in awe when he saw it. Yuan expressed that he wanted 2 flower stands and a 1.5-meter-high counter. The robot led the way and brought them to what they needed, but it made them pale as their jaws dropped. Yuan decided not to buy for now, and even if they had the money for it, he doesn't think it was the way to spend it. Smarty was thinking that as long as he puts 120% effort, it's not impossible to handcraft it. Yuan asked the intelligent robot for the cheapest chairs. At the very least, they had to buy a few chairs so the guests would be comfortable when they came. But it was worth 15,000. Smarty haggled 1,000 Federation coins at most. The intelligent robot simply informed him that it was not at the scope of his authority. It made Smarty sad that haggling didn't work. Yuan comforted him that it was not him. It was just that the other party was a robot. They visited the bookstore next. Smarty asked what for. Yuan reminded him that he plans to take the creator exam, so it was a given that he has to buy textbooks. He gets overwhelmed with the number of books inside, so he entrusts Smarty to choose. Smarty started saying the titles to the intelligent robot, and in total, there were 327 books with a catalog included as a gift. He was asked if he wanted them to be packaged. Yuan told the robot to package it into a knowledge chip and send it to the address that he gave. The robot asked him to sign the confidentiality agreement and promised that the purchased books would not be used by anyone other than relatives. Otherwise, the Creators Association would pursue him for liability of leakage. Now that their business was done, it was time to go back. Yuan commented that the intelligent robot was really nice. He also considered getting one to watch the store. When they showed up, someone was spooked. She noticed that he used in-store teleportation, so she asked if he was the owner. She complained that their shop doesn't even have a single intelligent robot. She could only wait there foolishly, not knowing when he would come back. He apologized and explained that the small shop had just opened, and they haven't had the time to prepare an intelligent robot yet. Deep inside, she was annoyed that this little girl was at the same age as Jue, and yet she acts high and mighty. She called him uncle and asked how much for those 2 spiders. Yuan was dumbfounded that he was addressed as uncle. The customer wanted Yuan to introduce him to the spiders and tell them their prices too. She also demanded him not to charge too high since the shop's name was No Loss. Smarty rolled on the floor, laughing when she called Yuan uncle. Yuan informed her that the smaller one with long spent weaving legs was a web-spraying spider that has awakened the exclusive trait Sticky Web. She realized that it wasn't poisonous. Then he showed her the larger one. It was a greenish web-spraying spider, and its exclusive trait was Fierce Poison. She was surprised and lost her balance. She fell on the floor, and her bee head was accidentally removed. It revealed her baldness. When Yuan saw it, he compared it to a braised egg. But he couldn't roast her since he's a professional. He endured and maintained his professional demeanor. But Smarty drooled and just said braised egg up front. Yuan was horrified. The girl touched her head and realized that her bee hat was gone. She turned red. She tried to explain that it was the after effect of treatment after being stung by a ghostly thorn bristle spider, and it would grow back in a few months. She made sure to emphasize that she's not a braised egg. The ghostly thorn bristle spider somehow heard it before. Then he asked if she was interested in spider-type spirit creatures. She was speechless. He probed her for an answer, and that made her annoyed. She clarified that she doesn't like spider-type spirit creatures at all. Yuan then asked why she was looking for spirit-type spirit creatures, and even coming into contact with a dangerous type like the ghostly thorn bristle spider. She admitted that it was because her affinity direction was spirit-type spirit creatures. Having heard that, Yuan agreed in his head that there were types of affinity that don't quite fit a person. And the person who hates spider-type spirit creatures the most just happens to only be able to contract spider-type creatures. But from another angle, Arachnida was also an exceptionally broad category of spirit creatures, so her development direction was exceptionally broad. Moreover, she was actually effectively treated after coming into contact with a ghostly thorn-bristle spider, which means that she has the power of money. Funnily, if it was him, he would definitely suggest she find a place to bury herself first. She told him that what she wanted wasn't there. Yuan stopped her from leaving. He told her that if she needed one for combat, then control and poison use were both popular types, and they both have exclusive traits. She argued that the exclusive traits of those two web-spraying spiders were too weak. She just wants to contract a spider-type spirit creature with strong control abilities. Yuan was dumbfounded that she considered those too weak. She clarified that it had nothing to do with the strength of those two, and she just wanted to grind for a web-spraying spider with the exclusive trait Transparent Web, even if she had to go the custom order route and buy a few elite-grade epic quality ones. Yuan could tell that the girl was both rich and stubborn. Transparent Web was an extremely rare exclusive trait. Even with custom orders, if luck was bad, they might not get it even after grinding through 10 or 20 web-spraying spiders. But Yuan thought that he might be able to do it. He told her that he might be able to get it. He asked how many she wanted. She was offended and asked him if he thought she was innocent, cute, and gullible. She told him that even if he was a little handsome, she won't easily believe him. Yuan was getting annoyed, but he got sidetracked when it sank in that she said he was handsome. He was determined to get this order not because she has a sweet mouth, but because he can't bear to see this sick little girl continue to hit a wall everywhere. Yuan was just too kind. He told her to suit herself and maybe, eventually, when she grinds through 100 shops, she'd find the web-spraying spider that she wanted. She stopped him from walking away. He asked what she needed when she didn't trust him. She asked if he really has a way. He told her that if she doesn't trust his words, then there would really be no way. She suggested that they add each other on StarNet first, and if he managed to get the custom web-spraying spider, he would notify her to buy it. Yuan's technique earlier to retreat so he could gain advantage worked. He actually had rich experience dealing with this kind of customer, but he refused her suggestion and told her to come back when she wants to buy something. She acted cute and told him not to be angry. She explained, just saw that the shop didn't even have decorations and was afraid of being scammed. She insists that he adds her as a friend, and if he could customize it, she won't haggle over the price. Yuan eventually agreed to add each other first. They tapped their cards to each other. She finds his username funny. He read hers, which was Cloudstream, and uttered that shark eagles live there. She called him an idiot for actually calling her a sand sculpture. The banter kept going. Yuan had the upper hand when he pointed out that he's an important shop owner who's going to help her customize a web-spraying spider. She yelled at him to cut it out, and she highlighted that she's an important customer who's going to pay him money. She paid him 10 radiant coins, and not that was done, she would be waiting for his good news. Yuan couldn't believe how deep her pockets were. It was 2 radiant coins for one custom web-spraying spider, and she paid the full amount for 5 of them without even blinking. Smarty's eyes sparkled upon seeing so much money. He assumed that they wouldn't be short on money from then on. Yin Yin has always wanted the newest records and sound system. Yuan admits that it would be difficult because what he received was the deposit, and it would only arrive in the account after completing her custom requirements. Before that, the money would be held by official StarNet custody. However, Brother Yang just sent the final payment earlier so they have sufficient funds, and then he checked the cost of web-spraying spiders. To their surprise, the cost of 5 elite-grade web-spraying spiders alone is 1 radiant coin. Smarty asked why it suddenly dropped by almost a third. The 3.3 radiant coins Brother Yang hasn't even warmed up yet. Yuan thought about it, and if he goes the normal cultivation route, he doesn't know how much money he'll have to spend buying spirit materials. Now he knows why that braised egg girl gave 10 radiant coins so decisively. After seeing their financial status, Smarty became gloomy. He started to question if a small shop on StarNet could really earn back the capital. Yuan told him that now that they had an intelligent robot for the store, they don't need to worry about it as much. But he definitely has to be thrifty. He doesn't know how much more expenditure was needed to expand the storefront. Smarty was doubtful because before they left, not a single customer came, and the old model robot he brought looked stupid. He told him to look at the bright side. As long as they do a good job on Braised Egg Girl's order at least, they'll have a large amount of funds in the future. That didn't cheer Smarty. He looked defeated as he went upstairs to play with Yin Yin instead. Yuan assured him that he'll earn it back very quickly. He went to ask Mobius. He went to his space and asked if he's around because he wanted to talk about the spirit creature for his next stage of Lock Spirit. Mobius told him that it wasn't okay. He lectured him to spend money sparingly because resources were limited and they must strictly control it. Yuan agreed that money was important, but improving one's strength would also allow them to earn more and faster. Then he informed him that he already had considered the next spirit creature for his next stage of lock spirit, but he still wanted to hear his opinion. His target was a spirit siphon goldfish. Yuan didn't expect Mobius to be this easygoing. Mobius had no issue with the spirit siphon goldfish. However, he did warn Yuan that the spirit required for it to rank up was more than 10 times that of other spirit creatures at the same level. Yuan accepted this without hesitation. Although Yuan wasn't completely certain, he could vaguely sense that whenever his mental power weakened, Mobius would compress it to protect him. Because of that, Yuan felt responsible for finding a way to help Mobius recover as quickly as possible, and Mobius trusted him with that task. With that settled, Yuan activated the StarNet search function. He was immediately stunned. With just a simple search, rows of storefronts appeared around him, almost forming an entire spirit siphon goldfish street. Unfortunately, most of them only sold normal grade ones. What he really wanted were elite grade options, so he checked whether it was possible to directly filter for the highest level storefronts. After clicking a few settings, a massive store popped up. The shop was located about 800 meters in. The space inside was clearly compressed, likely for better display effects. The products were neatly arranged, complete with specialized interface introductions. The overall layout was impressive, worth studying. A woman approached him and asked what he needed. She offered to assist him personally, explaining that the shop employees were currently on leave. Yuan was pleasantly surprised to meet an actual person instead of an intelligent robot. The woman introduced herself as the shop's proprietress, Zhou Jiaxian. Yuan told her that he wanted to buy a spirit siphon goldfish. She nodded and led him toward the aisle. She showed him the pool containing all the normal grade ones. Regardless of breed, they were all priced at 0.5 radiant coins. The red goldfish, with a body more than twice the size of the others, was elite grade, priced at 5 radiant coins. Just as rumored, the spirit siphon goldfish really did recover spirit chi quickly. Simply standing near it made the surrounding chi noticeably denser. But the price made Yuan hesitate. Even a normal grade spirit siphon goldfish was more expensive than an elite grade web-spraying spider. It seemed his original plan of buying an elite grade one right away wasn't realistic. Seeing his hesitation, Zhou Jiaxian explained that the breeds on display weren't considered particularly good. Better breeds would cost at least 7 radiant coins or more. However, for normal grade goldfish, the price was the same regardless of breed. After all, evolving this creature was notoriously difficult, so very few creators were willing to take commissions for it. Yuan thanked her for the advice. He addressed her as boss, but she laughed and told him to just call her sister Shin. She then asked if he wanted to choose based on appearance alone. In terms of nurturing potential, Yuan knew he had to choose the dragon eye type. If it underwent atavism and awakened a dragon bloodline, it would be like a carp leaping over the dragon gate. Still, he wondered if he could really be that lucky again, like when the iron-horned rhino ox ranked up. He quickly dismissed the thought and refocused. His real plan was to test whether the lock spirit space could accelerate the goldfish's growth. If successful, the shop's core product would be secured. He pointed out his choice. Sister Shin took note and asked if he needed anything else. Yuan remembered that the water pool in the lock spirit space still needed testing for its spirit chi capacity. That led him to purchasing additional energy ores. She offered a discount if he bought in bulk, lowering the price to 500 Federation coins per caddy. Yuan decided to buy 2,000 caddies. She froze in surprise. Yuan asked if he could pay by directly scanning his star card. She confirmed that he could and explained that Ostrich Logistics would deliver everything to his registered address. The sheer volume of the purchase made her assume she was dealing with a major client. She then mentioned that if Yuan was concerned about feeding the spirit siphon goldfish, she recommended butterfly shells. While relatively expensive, they were known for their miraculous effects in promoting spirit creature growth. Yuan thanked her for being so considerate. Yuan felt a sharp sting as his last bit of radiant coins disappeared. Still, this supply should be enough to feed the spirit siphon goldfish for 3 to 5 months. She suggested that they add each other as StarNet friends. That way, if he needed anything in the future, he could contact her directly. As long as he could pay the price, she could source it for him. Yuan replied that it would be an honor. He was genuinely glad. Rare materials were always scarce, and being able to order them directly would save him a lot of trouble. He was about to say something when she beat him to it, already guessing that he would need more energy ores, butterfly shells, and a few more spirit siphon goldfish. Yuan confirmed it, adding that inferior-grade energy ores would be sufficient. Higher-grade energy ores contained purer spirit ki, while inferior ones were usually only suitable for nurturing normal or elite-grade spirit creatures. Still, the sheer scale of Yuan's consumption made her curious just how large his spirit creature breeding base was. Deep down, she believed that heaven rewarded those who persevered. If she could secure Yuan as a long-term client, her shop would enjoy a steady stream of orders. To strengthen her competitive edge, she came up with an idea. She offered him special services reserved for long-term customers. Yuan immediately became interested. She explained that not only could the shop acquire a portion of the spirit creatures produced by long-term clients, but they could also provide heavily injured spirit creatures. These were guaranteed to be fresh, high-quality spirit materials. Yuan's eyes lit up. He asked when the next batch would arrive. She told him it would be in 3 weeks, and that she would notify him via Starnet if anything changed. By then, Yuan's capital flow should be stabilized, so he saw a lot of potential in this arrangement. Only then did he realize he had been in the shop for quite a while, yet no other customers had entered. It puzzled him. This place was too good to be empty. She explained that today was the match of the sequence 100 Suns, held at the radiant stairway of the Starry Sky Tower. Whether shop clerks or customers, most people had gone to watch. Yuan asked if it was the Violet Thorn's 100 Suns. She shook her head and said it was something even bigger, the Radiant 100 Suns of the Radiant Federation. After that, Yuan left the shop. She assured him that the goods would be delivered soon. He couldn't believe the match had already started. He quickly checked a ticket availability, hoping there were still high-platform seats left. He didn't want to miss it. His steps quickened. He was eager to see what the strongest combat professionals of the Radiant Federation's younger generation looked like. He also wondered just how large the gap was between them and Shaoqi. The event venue was located at a high elevation, and even from outside, the cheers were deafening. Yuan couldn't help wondering why there were still areas inside the Starnet that required climbing stairs. By the time he reached the top, he was visibly tired. Luckily, high-platform tickets weren't restricted. Hearing the crowd roar, he grew curious about who they were cheering for. That was when he spotted Cloudstream, the bee-girl, cheering enthusiastically. She heard someone call out to her and turned her binoculars. When she realized Yuan was standing right beside her, she casually commented that his face looked huge. Yuan told her to put the binoculars down first. Cloudstream argued that there was no rule saying she couldn't cheer for both sides at the same time. No matter who won, she'd be happy either way. Then she asked Yuan who he was supporting. Yuan copied her logic and said that he supported both of them. That answer immediately pleased her. She laughed and said that Yuan, whom she knew as Deep Mountain Old Forest, clearly had good taste as well. Yuan reasoned that both combat professionals were outstanding. Of course, the real reason was simpler. He had no idea who either of them were. Her excitement peaked and she suddenly grabbed his hand. Only then did she realize what she'd done. She quickly pulled away, clicking her tongue in embarrassment. Yuan felt slightly offended. After all, she was the one who grabbed him first. To make up for it, she handed him a telescope so he wouldn't miss a single detail of the battle. Just listening to commentary wasn't enough, she said. Yuan happily accepted it and thanked her. He realized that even though she was a bit awkward, she wasn't that bad. Through the telescope, he noticed that the two sides had completely different combat styles. What caught his attention the most were the healing-type spirit creatures. Cloudstream asked who he thought would win. Yuan said that the sequence member with the higher rank should have the advantage. On top of that, both sides were already using gold-rank spirit creatures. The short black-haired woman with red streaks stepped forward. Her bear-like spirit creature raised its palm and unleashed a molten lava palm strike. A burst of flames surged forward and completely engulfed the opposing spirit creature. The calm, long-haired woman responded immediately, commanding her hibiscus snow tree to use snow cold on the ice soul grass. With that, the hibiscus snow tree dispelled the flames, and the lava bear's rapid assault was largely neutralized. The short, black-haired woman with red streaks quickly realized that the opponent's teamwork was hard to break. Still, she wasn't about to back down. She ordered the lava bear to use burst charge to restrain the hibiscus snow tree. The beast rushed forward, flames roaring around its body. Its claws came crashing down, blasting the ground apart around the enemy. Yuan was impressed by the sheer ferocity of the offense. Cloudstream explained that Lady Shiranui was a power assault-type spirit chi professional, while Lady White Devil specialized in healing. Naturally, Lady Shiranui had an advantage in raw pressure. However, there was no need to worry, because in terms of sequence ranking, Lady White Devil was much higher. Lady White Devil's real name was Daisy. Her nickname was White Devil, and she held sequence rank 18. She quickly healed the hibiscus snow tree and suppressed the lava bear's momentum. Lady Shiranui, whose real name was Anna, was ranked 47. She was impressed. She hadn't expected Daisy to still have enough energy to stabilize both spirit creatures under such an aggressive assault. But her attack wasn't meant to end in just one wave. Under the relentless pressure of the twin bears, the hibiscus snow tree could only defend passively. The crowd began to wonder if the balance of victory was starting to tilt. The war of attrition dragged on for half a quarter hour. Anna taunted Daisy, pointing out that her spirit key reserves were clearly struggling. This made Yuan wonder, despite the higher sequence rank, was a healing type really at a disadvantage against a power assault type? Daisy calmly responded that the gap between sequence 18 and 47 wasn't as simple as Anna thought. She activated Snow Cold. Her spirit creature's aura flared violently. She followed up by commanding the Ice Soul Grass to use Extreme Cold Seal. The lava bear roared as it was trapped within layers of ice. Anna was genuinely impressed. Even after fighting for that long, Daisy could still unleash such a large-scale move. Both lava bears were frozen solid, but the hibiscus snow tree and ice soul grass didn't look much better either. Cloudstream grew nervous. Even though Lady White Devil had countered and stopped Lady Shiranui's assault, that kind of seal wouldn't last forever. Once it broke, Lady Shiranui would immediately counterattack. Yuan, however, knew things weren't that simple, because White Devil was a healer. Just as he expected, Daisy summoned the Revival Butterfly and activated Wings of Revival. Her spirit creature's vitality surged back. The audience gasped. Their injuries were restored almost instantly. While not fully healed, they had clearly regained combat capability. Anna laughed in disbelief. Still, she declared that she would be the one to win. Then, unexpectedly, her spirit creature broke through, evolving into a platinum-rank flowing flame giant bear. Daisy admitted that she hadn't anticipated such a dramatic breakthrough. But it didn't shake her resolve. Instead, she released red butterflies. They spread throughout the entire arena. Anna sneered, saying that no matter what Daisy tried, she wouldn't be able to break her flowing flame critical strike, a technique combining offense and defense developed specifically to counter her. Daisy didn't respond. She simply let the butterflies attack. They pierced straight through the giant bear's body. The flowing flame giant bear threw its head back and let out a pained roar, blood spraying as the delayed damage finally erupted. Anna froze in shock. Seeing her spirit creature fall, she dropped to her knees as the host announced the victor, Lady White Devil Daisy. She earned a Stairway Glory Star. With a bitter smile, Anna admitted that she hadn't expected the Revival Butterfly to evolve into a fantasy breed at gold rank. She acknowledged her loss without excuses. Daisy smiled and extended her hand. She explained that it was no longer a Revival Butterfly. After evolving into a fantasy breed, it had become a Calamity Butterfly. She encouraged Anna to cheer up, reminding her that the audience was watching. The crowd erupted in cheers. Cloudstream excitedly shook Yuan, saying that Lady White Devil was insanely cool. And even though Lady Shiranui lost, as expected of someone who commanded bears, her offense was explosive and unforgettable. Yuan quietly reflected that his sister's battles at school were nothing compared to what he had just witnessed. For the first time, he truly understood the strength of the Radiant Federation's top young combat professionals. It was time for Cloudstream to say goodbye. Before leaving, she reminded Yuan not to forget her web-spraying spiders. Yuan still couldn't get over how terrifying a fantasy breed was. A gold-rank healing-type spirit creature had actually crossed ranks and defeated a platinum-rank combat-type spirit creature. The rune in his hand was the key to allowing a spirit creature to evolve into a fantasy breed. And coincidentally, it was most compatible with healing-type spirit creatures. However, the only healing-type spirit creature he currently possessed was Lily Luara. He knew it was still too early to worry about that. Just then, he suddenly heard Yin Yin muttering poetic nonsense like, "Starry sky, sprinkling down lonely light, silence guarding faint hope, stumbling all the way, unable to see the distance clearly, yet refusing to let go of the desire buried deep in the heart." Yuan went to his room and asked what they were doing, since he could clearly hear them from downstairs. The two were startled. Smarty immediately switched tabs and scolded Yuan for not knocking. Yuan didn't understand why he had to knock on his own room. That only made him more curious about what they were hiding. Smarty was sweating bullets as he explained that Yin Yin was just practicing singing and he was helping her find sheet music. Yuan told Smarty to make some room. He needed to look up some information. Yin Yin whispered to Smarty, confirming that Yuan hadn't noticed anything. Smarty replied that it was fine, saying he had closed the computer fast enough and that the account had been registered secretly, so Yuan wouldn't find out. Yuan read about the requirements to promote a copper rank spirit creature to legendary quality. At the very least, C rank spirit key was required. Otherwise, he would just put the 2 web-spraying spiders up for auction online. They would still sell for a decent price. Just then, someone rang the doorbell, so Yuan went downstairs. It was Ostrich Logistics. Courier 457 had delivered the goods Yuan purchased on StarNet right on schedule. The senior courier urged his rookie partner to hurry up and move the valuable items. Smarty grew curious. Yuan casually explained that it was all for the store's future development. The girl carried several boxes while introducing herself as Ah Neng, then quickly corrected herself, saying she was Rookie Courier 3451. Seeing that she was holding the boxes improperly and that they were about to slip, Yuan stepped in and offered to carry them instead. The fishbowl on top suddenly tipped over. Smarty lunged to catch it. He caught the bowl, but water splashed all over his face. He hurriedly checked whether the fish was still inside. Fortunately, Yin had already caught it. The senior courier immediately scolded the rookie for almost causing an accident. She apologized sincerely. Yuan waved it off, saying it was fine. Everyone slipped up sometimes. Meanwhile, Smarty was drooling as he stared at the fish. Seeing the boxes piled up inside the shop, Yin was amazed. Smarty asked if they were opening an ore farm. Yuan explained that only by expanding the scale could they increase profits. He also couldn't help noticing how strong the new courier was. Being able to move 2,000 caddies of energy or into the room was no small feat. Even with spirit key reinforcement, training to that level from a young age was still impressive. Yuan told them to go upstairs and play, while he entered seclusion for cultivation. He also informed Smarty that all the materials from the knowledge chip had already been uploaded to his StarNet account, so he should hurry up and start studying. Smarty replied that he understood and grabbed the biscuits before leaving. Yuan activated the lock spirit. Next, it was time to level up the fish. An hour later, the fish no longer fit inside the fishbowl. Yuan realized that the spirit key consumed to advance from normal grade to elite grade was several times that of the green creeper. Yet the spiritual power feedback he gained was roughly the same. Now it made sense why the spirit siphon goldfish was infamous for being difficult to raise. He wondered how he was supposed to move that much more spirit key into the lock spirit space. 2 days later, the fish was transferred into a large spirit transformation pool where it could move freely. Mobius complained that he was jealous. Unlike him, the fish wasn't lonely. And unlike him, Mobius was constantly being interrupted for no reason. Yuan dumped more energy ores into the pool while telling Mobius that he hadn't helped at all. Over the past few days, Yuan had personally moved more than 1,000 caddies of ore. Mobius retorted that he was still in a spirit body state. Yuan had finally reached the limit. The spirit key concentration inside the lock spirit space was fully saturated. If Mobius wanted to increase it further, he would have to wait for the next advancement. Mobius replied that as long as he could continue evolving, the upper limit would keep rising. At the moment, it was probably only about 5 times higher than the outside world. Yuan watched as the spirit siphon goldfish continuously absorbed spirit ki from the space. He had high hopes for it. It was destined to become the shop's future signature product. Still, it would be even better if it could awaken a dragon species bloodline. He had specifically chosen the dragon eye breed for that reason. Mobius reminded him that it would require dragon beast blood, which would be extremely expensive. Yuan agreed. The biggest issue right now was still money. The only solution was to rapidly level up spirit creatures and earn the price difference as fast as possible. He brought out several boxes, prompting Mobius to ask what they contained. Yuan revealed that they were the web-spraying spiders. The sales of elite-grade green creepers had been decent, but he still needed products with more distinctive traits. Mobius asked why the spiders had to be moved into the lock spirit space to level up. Yuan explained that the spirit Kui transformation speed inside the lock spirit space was also 5 times faster than outside. With that, he got to work. The spider's quality was successfully raised to epic grade. Yuan was relieved. Upgrading them to epic grade had only taken a little over 2 hours. Outside, it would have taken at least a dozen. Just then, he received a message on his phone. As expected, one spider was priced at 1.1 radiant coins, while the other reached 1.3 radiant coins. Encouraged, Yuan planned to put the remaining 2 up for auction as well. His immediate goal was simple: earn his first small target. Mobius commented that Yuan was slowly turning into a money grubber. Then another notification popped up. Yuan had received a 500 Federation coin tip from Lord Sun Lin, along with a message encouraging him to keep up the good work and maintain daily live streaming. Yuan was baffled, since when could a StarNet shop receive tips? Then it clicked. He rushed upstairs where he could clearly hear Yin Yin singing. He burst open the door and demanded to know what the two of them were doing. Both of them jumped in fright. Smarty hastily replied that they were studying. Yuan tried to approach the computer to verify that claim, but the two blocked his way. His eyes widened when he discovered that they had become visual streamers. The chat was filled with praise for the beautiful voice. Many viewers were completely hooked by the song and searched for it on StarNet, only to realize it was an original. Some viewers even sent tips, while others were confused as to why the streamers' faces were blocked by GIFs. The chosen streamer name is Kuei Yin Luo. Yuan shared that if it weren't for the shared income and expenditure system, he wouldn't have known that they were starting a career behind his back. Yin Yin was proud of the name. It was well suited for Yin Yin, who likes eating green creepers, and Smarty came up with it. Yuan noticed how proud she was. They don't dare to show their faces, so it made him curious how they chose the visual streamer track. She answered that Smarty said it's the only way they could create differentiation within the same track. Yuan had to probe Smarty. Smarty answered that he got tired after studying a few hours every day, so he might as well hand the time over to Yin Yin to utilize it effectively. Seeing that the account has been open for a few days, and although there were quite a few bullet comments, there were very few followers. It was a small-time hobby, so he just let them play. Though other soundbirds like to exercise their control over sound waves, their family's Yin Yin had just liked singing since it was little. He stopped being mad since he thinks it was a good thing that they plan to effectively utilize their specialties and hobbies. At this time, it wasn't just a few followers, though. He hadn't realized yet what kind of legend Kuei Yin Luo would become in the streaming world in the future. Those two were happy that they finally got Yuan's permission. But he set conditions that they couldn't accept inappropriate tips. He set the limit to be 500 Federation coins. Also, he wanted them to change tracks and make it to a visual voice actor track. Those two were so elated that Yin Yin carried Smarty on her back and they sped off. Yuan commented that the children had grown up and stopped listening. Mobius commented that those two were quite interesting. Yuan didn't want to talk about them at the moment, since he's worrying how he could make him level up. The spirit key concentration in space has also reached a bottleneck, but it still can't quite keep up with the consumption volume of his nurturing spirit creatures. The prerequisite for leveling him up was to first nurture other spirit creatures to level up. Even though he could accelerate the process by transforming spirit key, he's limited by his own spirit key professional rank, so the efficiency was limited. If he wants to accelerate the process, he needs Mobius's level to increase. It was simply a vicious cycle. Mobius suggested pursuing high quality since it costs so much money, but that won't do. Only by improving the quality of the spirit creature could the spirit creature's level be brought out. He hoped for every single spirit creature to realize their own value. If the Dragon Eye Spirit Siphon Goldish is to advance, it needs at least 3 drops of Dragon Beast blood. For Lily Luara to attempt legendary grade quality, it needs 1 portion of Revival Soil, 2 Redwood Tree Cores, and 1 liter of Flora Spring Water. With that requirements, he had to call Sister Shin. She answered his call, but she was surprised when she heard that he wanted a Dragon Beast blood because that item wasn't cheap. But deep inside, she was thrilled that her judgment was correct. He was truly worthy of a patron who spent nearly 5 radiant coins the first time he entered the shop. She gave him a quote that the price of the gold rank Dragon Beast blood is 80 radiant coins, while for a platinum rank Dragon Beast blood, it's 2,000 radiant coins a drop. If he could take a large quantity, she would give him a discount and a guarantee that it hasn't been diluted. His silence made her ask if he's still there. In reality, he was left crying because he couldn't afford it. He cleared his throat and clarified that he was just asking first. And aside from that, he wanted to order 4,000 caddies of inferior energy stones and 3 spirit siphon goldfish, normal grade. She could easily get him his order. After the call, she calculated based on the restocking speed and expects that he would be needing the Dragon Beast blood by the next time he comes. She planned to prepare since she now has a pretty good patron. 2 hours later, more fish were swimming in the pool. Mobius commented that the delivery was way too fast. Yuan had just finished upgrading 5 web-spraying spiders to epic quality, but the money he earned for the past few days was down to only 0.4 radiant coins again, and the spirit key in the space has been consumed by more than half. He envied those goldfish for living a carefree life. He started feeding them. The first goldfish in the pool started acting aggressively. Yuan was confused, since those fish originally live in the same pool. The transformation pool was only bigger, and yet they started fighting. Mobius answered that he was too naive. He explained that it's the natural selection, survival of the fittest. Evolution is inherently the most creative ability nature bestows upon living beings. So no matter what kind of spirit creature, they would not easily share the spirit key, supplying themselves with other spirit creatures, even if they were former partners. Yuan knew it was the reason why the strong get stronger and it's difficult for the weak to rise. Mobius was glad that he was enlightened, though he added that nature was also balanced. The more powerful the individual, the more they should understand coexistence and order. His calm mind temporarily eliminates the aggression of the dragon eye spirit siphon goldfish, and barring any accidents, he expects the other three to evolve to elite grade in 5 days. Yuan entrusted that to him and added more ore. He checked his phone and was glad to see that the green creepers sold out so fast. Mobius had just finished upgrading a few web spiders, so he decided to restock them. Yuan realized it was time to deliver to that braised egg, so he left. He entered his online shop and saw someone arguing when the shop already stated that the product was sold out. The girl complained that when she saw the monk, she let him order first, but he actually dared to sweep everything away. The monk simply replied that the Buddha taught them not to rob. She got angrier and grabbed him by the collar. She was angry that she already helped him, and yet he dared to lecture her. She challenged him to meet offline. Yuan yelled at them to stop arguing, or they could take it outside his shop. He displayed the web-spraying spiders. The monk was shocked. He could tell that it was a work of a 2-star creator. The girl couldn't believe that it was an epic quality. Yuan clarified that those were custom ordered and not for sale. The monk got interested in the requirements for a custom order. He explained that he's temporarily not accepting custom orders for that month and would resume the business next month at earliest. Simultaneously, those two asked if he still had elite-grade green creepers. Unfortunately, they were sold out and he won't be selling any more after that. He introduced them to his next products, which were copper-rank green creepers and an elite-grade spirit siphon goldfish. He opened pre-orders for it. The girl offered 5 radiant coins to order a copper-rank green creeper. The monk bids 8 radiant coins for the spirit siphon goldfish. They both wanted those to be reserved under them so it won't be snatched away. Given their stance, Yuan realized that those two were used to buying when he even researched about the market price. He warned them that if they argued again, both of them would go straight into the shop's blacklist. He didn't know that those two were actually working together behind the scenes. Yuan was left exhausted. He realized that he had to set up the shop rules immediately and then placed it in the most conspicuous spot. The monk said that he would be waiting for his good news, then turned around and left. Seeing that the girl was still standing there, Yuan asked if she had other business. He told her that he no longer had any spirit creatures available for sale. She hesitated for a moment before asking if he could heal a spirit creature. That immediately piqued his interest. She explained that it was a spirit creature with a damaged foundation and serious injuries. Yuan said that if it was below silver rank, he could give it a try. The girl was overjoyed. She said that her daughter's spirit creature could finally be saved. Yuan froze when he heard the word daughter. He couldn't quite believe it. She looked about the same age as his sister. She then revealed her daughter's copper-rank spirit creature. While training near a dimensional rift, its roots had been burned by a horn demon. That surprised Yuan. Horn demons possessed horn fire with withering properties. If it struck a plant-type spirit creature, the damage would be devastating. Now he finally understood why the spirit creature's foundation had been injured. She thanked him profusely and asked about the cost. She admitted that she didn't have enough money right now, but promised that she would scrape it together by next month. Yuan waved it off, saying it was fine. He didn't have the time this month anyway. He told her to bring the spirit creature next month instead. As for payment, he didn't want money. What he wanted was something else: revival soil. She was stunned, unable to believe that this alone would be enough. Naturally, she accepted the deal without hesitation. She promised to find it for him. If she succeeded, they could discuss the treatment fee again. Yuan was genuinely surprised. Even Sister Shin couldn't obtain revival soil, which meant this woman definitely had connections. With that, his revival soil problem could be considered solved. Flora spring water could be handled with money. That only left the redwood tree core. He wondered if it could only be obtained through an auction at the treasure pavilion. Deciding not to think too far ahead, Yuan sent a message to Cloudstream, telling her that the web-spraying spiders were ready and that she should come quickly. Almost instantly, she appeared. Yuan was shocked by her speed. She accused him of cheating, How could he produce 5 epic quality spiders in just a few days? Even she hadn't expected him to be this fast. She assured him that she would roll the transparent spider silk immediately. After inspecting the goods and confirming their quality, she said she was extremely satisfied and told him to ship them out. Her excitement was obvious. Yuan reminded her that one of the web-spraying spiders possessed the skill Deadly Poison and advised her to be careful with her hair. She immediately snapped back, yelling that she didn't get stung on purpose and that her hair was already growing back. After the payment was transferred, she left. Yuan wondered why she was always so prickly, but at least he finally had capital again. It was time to expand production. He immediately placed orders for more materials so he could keep the money flowing. The butterfly tail spirit siphon goldfish were also selling well, and he needed to restock green creepers as well. Noticing Smarty's eyes bulging, Yuan asked if he'd strained them from studying too long. Smarty said no, it was just that there were concepts he didn't quite understand. He asked about the complexity of spirit creature evolution. Yuan asked him what exactly he meant. Smarty explained that spirit creature evolution didn't solely aim to strengthen survival or combat ability. If that were the case, spirit creatures wouldn't be able to sustain themselves during evolution. The theory was abstract and difficult to grasp. Yuan tried to think of a more concrete example, so he pointed to the green creeper, something Smarty was extremely familiar with since he ate it every day. Yuan asked him to imagine that he was a green creeper and what direction he would evolve in to ensure survival. Smarty answered that he would get rid of the leaves so he wouldn't be eaten, evolve toxicity to avoid accidental consumption, and become extremely durable while needing less water. Yuan imagined a poisonous cactus instead. Then he told Smarty that this line of thinking was completely wrong. Smarty was shocked. He thought his logic was perfect for survival. Yuan then showed him the evolved copper rank form of the green creeper. Smarty immediately realized how different it was from what he had imagined. It was fresh, juicy, and actually tasted good. It practically looked like it wanted to be eaten. Yuan explained that the green creeper's evolution path was equivalent to declaring to all spirit creatures that it could produce food, and delicious food at that. As a result, other spirit creatures would protect it, nurture it, and ensure its survival. That was how it secured its position in the ecosystem. Smarty muttered that if it were him, he'd still choose to evolve into something completely unpalatable. The worse it tasted, the better. Yuan told him that studying too long had narrowed his thinking. That was why he couldn't figure it out. So he suggested going out for a walk. Yin was happy. It had been a long time since they last went out together. Yuan admitted that they'd relied too heavily on online shopping lately. At a massive screen, they watched the city lord Ling Xiao announce that the Radiant Federation Creators Guild would reform the Creator Certification Assessment. Anyone who completed the 1-star creator assessment within 2 hours could skip 3 lifestyle profession advancement assessments and directly challenge the 2-star creator exam. This was incredible news for Yuan. It meant he could directly aim for 2 stars. He silently vowed to secure it no matter what. Yin also expressed her support. The next news segment focused on the Federation. Recent investigations showed that dimensional rifts would enter an active period lasting half a year, during which an exotic beast tide would emerge. The Radiant Federation would enter a state of combat readiness. Citizens were advised to prepare in advance and not panic. During the active period, the Federation would dispatch spirit guards to help resist the exotic beast tide. Images of spirit guards in full uniform flashed across the screen. Yuan suddenly remembered asking his parents where they were going when he was young. They told him to take good care of Jue, saying they were heading out for a bit and would be back by the time he woke up. But the next day, an injured man came to inform him about his parents. Jue woke up and asked where their parents were. Yuan had to tell her that they wouldn't be coming back. She cried loudly. Yuan hugged her and promised that he would take care of her. As he did, he tightly gripped his parents' badges in his hands. Standing there frozen, Yuan didn't notice Yin and Smarty panicking as they tried to get his attention. He finally snapped out of it, hugged them both, and assured them that he was fine. That was their cue to head home. Only then did he realize. The badges his parents carried were the symbols of the spirit guards. When Yuan got back home, he immediately sat down and began researching on his computer. Just as he expected, the dimensional rift that opened on the outskirts of Xia County 10 years ago was indeed resolved by the spirit guards. He read through several news reports. According to the data, a powerful energy source was detected deep inside the rift. He skimmed the news. At 7 a.m., a level 4 swamp dragonfly broke through the defenses, severely injuring 30 defenders before being suppressed by the Wind and Thunder Squad. At 3 p.m., a level 5 rotting bone silkworm emerged, using corrosive attacks and corpse control. The Captain General soon arrived with elite forces and began sealing the rift while exterminating the threat. By 8 p.m., the creature was heavily injured, but the land remained corroded. There were no civilian casualties, though 120 were seriously injured and 53 went missing. The rift was expected to be sealed within 72 hours. The rotting bone silkworm felt painfully familiar to him. He also read that bone-devouring gangrene was a mutual destruction skill, one the rotting bone silkworm could only activate by sacrificing itself when pushed to its absolute limit. Putting all these pieces together, Yuan realized that Uncle Lee was a member of the Spirit Guards. His gaze slowly dropped to the badges his parents left behind. South was lava, north was ice-sealed, the west rose into a vast desert, and the east sank into quagmires. The Radiant Federation existed in the narrow cracks between these deadly zones. Countless spirit creatures roamed within and around its borders. The Spirit Guards were the guardian organization responsible for handling spirit creature disasters and exotic beast invasions. Yuan wondered if his parents had been stationed at such a dangerous post. They had never mentioned it. He noticed faint inscriptions on the badges. After wiping away the dried blood, the number 2837 appeared. He wondered if that was their serial number within the Spirit Guards. He tried to dig deeper online. But a red exclamation mark suddenly flashed on the screen. He had triggered a restricted clearance level. Online searches were no longer permitted. He considered asking Auntie Zhang, but she was accompanying Uncle Lee for a medical checkup. They were old friends of his parents. Yuan suspected they knew the truth. Judging from Uncle Lee's injuries, he was likely a witness to the events back then, perhaps even a spirit guard himself. Suddenly, someone knocked on the front door. It was already late at night. Yuan initially thought Auntie Zhang had returned, but she wouldn't knock like that. Xue was preparing for the 100 Suns recently, so she wouldn't be coming home. Even if she did, she would notify him beforehand. Anyone related to StarNet transactions contacted him through his phone. That made Yuan both wary and curious about who it could be. The knocking pattern changed, as if a different person had taken over. The worst-case scenario flashed through his mind. His ability to upgrade and evolve spirit creatures had been exposed, and someone had come to kidnap him. Smarty and Yin Yin woke up and asked who it was. Smarty jokingly asked if Yuan had stolen someone else's business. Yuan told him to stop talking nonsense. He barely had any stock. There was no way he had stepped on anyone's toes. He quietly instructed Yin Yin that if he retreated after opening the door, no matter who came in, she was to immediately release turbulence and sound spike at the entrance. He cracked the door open slightly and asked who they were looking for. Outside stood a man and a woman. The man asked whether he was the child of Lin Jian and Chu Yan. Yuan asked if they knew his parents. The woman immediately took out a badge, clearly knowing he would recognize it. She said softly that she hadn't expected him to have grown this much. She introduced herself. They were from the Spirit Guards. Her name was Su Jin, though she preferred to be called Auntie Su. The man beside her was Dong Hai. He asked whether Yuan had recently attempted to access the Spirit Guards' internal database. They had traced him through that. That confirmed it. His parents had truly been members of the Spirit Guards. Dong Hai said it was a long story. The aftermath of that battle had been extremely chaotic. Back then, many Spirit Guards carried out missions under hidden identities, which made later investigations difficult. The headquarters' follow-up handling still had unresolved gaps. They apologized for coming so late. Then he handed Yuan a blood-stained piece of cloth. Yuan asked what it was. Dong Hai said it was for Yuan and Shui's future. There was writing on the cloth. Yuan recognized the handwriting immediately. It was his mother's. Dong Hai explained that Spirit Guard missions were incredibly dangerous. That was why Auntie Zhang and Uncle Lee chose to keep the truth from him. They silently accompanied and protected the siblings all these years. He hoped Yuan wouldn't blame them. Rubbing his eyes, Yuan said that he didn't blame them. If anything, it was thanks to them that he and his sister were able to grow up safely. Dong Hai, who told him to call him Uncle Dong, also promised that he had Yuan's back. If Yuan ever needed help, he could come to him. Auntie Su cleared her throat, reminding Uncle Dong of something important. That item had been exchanged using all of his parents' accumulated merits, along with repeated applications from old Zhang and others. Yuan asked what item they were talking about. Uncle Dong told him it was a source seed. Yuan asked what that meant. Auntie Su explained that dimensional rifts didn't only bring exotic beast tides, they also birthed various treasures known as source-type items. Only when a source-type item was removed would a rift finally close. The source seed was one such item. A source-type treasure capable of sealing a level 2 dimensional rift. Uncle Dong thought the source seed suited Yuan perfectly. He heard from old Lee that Yuan had an accident during cultivation when he was young, which left his body weak. Contracting spiritual beings consumes a lot of energy, but a source seed only needs fresh blood to grow. It does not rely on mental strength or spiritual energy. Yuan carefully examined the seed. Auntie Sue explained that the source seed could be cultivated into a spiritual being. Its abilities and growth path could be guided freely during cultivation. Because of Yuan's poor health, she suggested raising it into a healing-type spiritual being. This would greatly help his body in the future. A healing type also matched Yuan's current affinity. But pure healing alone was not enough to survive in that world. Yuan knew he still needed combat power, just like Daisy, also known as White. Auntie Sue handed him a Federal Central Bank card. It contained 100 radiant coins. She said it was a gift and also compensation that was 10 years overdue. Uncle Dong gave him one as well, knowing that cultivating a source seed and paying for Yuan's sister's schooling would be expensive. He told Yuan to treat it as interest for the past 10 years. Yuan refused to take their money. He opened the door. Smarty jumped onto his head and said that he had 2 wonderful families. Uncle Dong, who had lived at least 20 years longer than Yuan, offered him some advice. He insisted that Yuan accept the money. Auntie Sue noticed that Yuan had only recently recovered physically. She guessed that Smarty and Yin were only at elite level. His peers were already bronze rank or higher, so it seemed that Yuan lacked real combat experience. She asked him if he wanted to know more about his parents' work. There was a level 1 dimensional rift in Xie Prefecture connected to the spirit beast realm. If Yuan wanted, she could take him there to see how the spirit suppression division operated. Even though it was only level 1, it still carried some risk. Before she could finish speaking, Yuan said that he wanted to go. He believed they already knew about his past condition. He had missed too much of the world, and with such an opportunity in front of him, he did not want to let it slip away. Within half a year, the dimensional rift would become active. A beast tide was approaching, so preparing early was the smart choice. Auntie Sue thought Yuan was promising. She believed he had talent. Uncle Dong quietly warned her that they should be more careful. She elbowed him to shut him up. She told him to clear out the insectoids while she stayed close to protect Yuan. She told Yuan to get ready because they were leaving immediately. Yuan checked the stats of her spirit beast. It was a fluff feather snow owl from the overfeather family, snow owl genus. It was platinum rank, 8 out of 10, with wind and ice attributes. Its quality was perfect. It had a skill called Feather Salt, which launched rapid wing strikes while firing sharp feathers. Another skill, Feather Shield, used thick down feathers to block damage. Snow Feather Spike fired cold feathers that froze targets and dealt spread damage. Ground. Snow Stride condensed airflow on the ground, creating an avalanche field that unleashed freezing attacks in all directions. Snow's protection summoned extreme cold to form solid ice shields that protected multiple targets and granted ice resistance. Its exclusive trait, Rapid Freeze, boosted frost affinity and caused ice skills to freeze targets faster. Yuan was shocked. A casual summon was already platinum rank and had so many skills. He had assumed it was a defensive spirit beast. It truly lived up to the reputation of the spirit suppression division. Yin stared at the giant bird in awe. He wondered if he could become that strong one day. Yuan promised to train him as best as he could. Smarty also wanted to go along. Yuan asked Uncle Dong if he could bring the 2 little ones with them. Uncle Dong agreed since he would be guarding them anyway. Both of them were excited to ride such a big bird. Yin loved how it felt like velvet. Xiao asked if she even knew what velvet felt like. Yin said she did not, but that was how it felt in her imagination. Soon they were flying through the sky. They eventually arrived in front of the dimensional rift. Military personnel stopped them and said that unauthorized personnel were forbidden to enter. Uncle Dong stated his full name and affiliation and requested access to the restricted zone to lead a basic clearing operation. After his identity was confirmed, they were allowed inside. They flew forward. The area was already within the range of the dimensional rift. From time to time, insectoids would fall from above. That was why so many violet thorn guards were stationed there. Yuan promised himself to stay cautious. Sudden loud noises echoed around them. Yin and Smarty both clung tightly to Yuan. A spirit beast suddenly appeared behind them. Uncle Dong punched it. Yuan watched in shock as Uncle Dong shattered the insectoid with a single punch, using only body-tempered spiritual energy. At that moment, he truly understood the strength of the spirit suppression division. Auntie Sue told him not to be nervous. Most of the insectoids were only elite level. Very few had reached bronze rank. Even so, Yuan knew elite level enemies were already dangerous for him. Uncle Dong moved ahead of the group. He summoned his wolf-like spirit beast. He placed it right in the center of the battlefield. Yuan felt uneasy seeing it surrounded on all sides. Uncle Dong told him not to rush. He said the beast needed some time to prepare. Then he commanded the pack to hunt. The spirit beast was a shadow dreadwolf from the dreadwolf genus of the Dark Fang clan. It was monarch rank, 10 out of 10, with outstanding quality. Its ultimate skill was Eclipse Domain. It had Bite, which tore enemies apart and caused bleeding. Claw Strike ripped enemies with deadly force. Pounce Lock used gravity to suppress and capture targets, with effectiveness based on the enemy's strength. Black Ray fired dark element energy from its mouth, dealing heavy magic damage. Ban Owl Howl released a powerful sonic attack. Its passive skill, Night Stalker, enhanced tracking and senses. Its special trait, Shadow Entity, made its energy nearly endless when fighting in darkness. Yuan was deeply impressed. The skill set and trait were perfectly suited for long battles with high burst damage. Just watching the fight made the trip worthwhile. In a blink, the enemies were wiped out. Uncle Dong told Yuan that it was not dangerous at all. Yuan noticed that Yin was acting strangely, so he asked her what was wrong. She said that something was watching them. She was right. A crow hovered nearby. Its eyes were red, its chest was open, and white bones were exposed. Yuan still believed the trip would not be dangerous. Smarty felt relieved hearing that. Yin suddenly jumped out of Yuan's arms and warned him to be careful. She said something felt wrong. Yuan shouted for her to stop. That was when he realized Auntie Sue and Uncle Dong were gone. A strange feeling washed over him. When he looked again, he realized he was riding on the back of the eerie giant crow. Uncle Dong said he felt uneasy. Auntie Sue reminded him not to lower his guard because it felt like something was still waiting for them. He complained that she had jinxed it. She told Yuan to stay put while they dealt with the small threats. She assured him there was nothing to worry about. Her Fluff Feather Snow Owl unleashed Snow Feather Spike. Several spirit beasts were wiped out at once. Uncle Dong thought that was the most dangerous situation they would face that day. But Auntie Sue felt something was off. Yuan had not moved for a long time, so she told Uncle Dong to check on him. When Uncle Dong checked, Yuan's face looked normal and his breathing was steady. He told her that Yuan was just asleep. In truth, Yuan's consciousness was falling. Yin shouted for him to grab onto her, so he grabbed her small legs. Smarty told her to hold on tightly. She tried her best, but she could not keep her grip, and all of them fell. Yuan felt strange. It did not feel like he was falling from a height. Instead, it felt like the ground was welcoming him. Since he was not injured at all, he wondered if the enemy did not want him dead. A voice said he was right. It said that the beings outside the rift controlled all the land and resources, while those inside had to fight and bleed just to survive. It was the crow. It offered him a bet. If the crow won, Yuan would have to stay there forever. Yuan was shocked that it could speak. But the crow did not want to talk any longer. It was angry that they kept calling it an insectoid when it did not even have the right to live in peace outside the rift. The spirit beast summoned a group of wolves. Yin attacked with turbulence. She shouted at it to stay away from Yuan. Smarty bragged that they even had a big bird and a big wolf on their side. At the mention of those spirit beasts, the crow created creepy copies of Auntie Sue and Uncle Dong. It used its power to restrain Yin and Smarty. Wolves surrounded them as their strength was slowly drained. They shouted for Yuan to run. Yuan covered them in a golden aura and told them to calm their minds. Smarty was confused about what was happening. Yuan realized everything around them was an illusion. Uncle Dong and Auntie Sue were not really there. They had disappeared because the crow could not pull them into the illusion. The crow was called the Lord of the Three Ravens from the Corvidae family. It was elite tier, level 2. It was a psychic-type spirit beast with common quality. One of its skills was Eye of Illusory Dreams. When it stared at an enemy, it could drag them into a low-level illusion, forcing them to see terrifying scenes that weakened their will. This only worked on weaker spirit creatures. It was shocked that Yuan had seen through it. It never expected a human kid to break free from its power. This only made it more determined to kill him. Smarty asked if the attacks were illusions too. Yin said they felt real. Yuan told them that the damage was real. The Lord of the Three Ravens warned them that its next attack would not be fake. Yuan noticed that its technique was almost a perfect copy of elite-class spirit beast skills. Yuan told Yin to use turbulence to attack their legs. Then Smarty was to strike their faces when they opened up. He explained that they were illusion clones, so they should be weak. Yin followed his order. Smarty rushed in and scratched them. To their shock, the clones were not affected at all. Yuan told the Lord of the Three Ravens that fighting like this was pointless and that it could not win, but the crow disagreed. Yuan was human and had spirit beasts. It was an abnormal insect that had nothing. Suddenly, the crow leveled up inside the illusion. It lunged at Yuan, shouting that battle brought satisfaction, destruction created fairness, and slaughter restored balance. It raged about how humans enjoyed food and clean air, while creatures inside the rift killed each other just to live. A wolf was about to bite Yuan. The source seed slipped out of his pocket. Yin and Smarty were being overwhelmed as well. The crow believed that survival only led to pain, and destruction was the path to eternity. Suddenly, golden light burst through the wolves. The crow froze in shock. Yuan was unharmed. The source seed was actively resisting the illusion. Yuan realized the crow's power could strengthen nearby spirit beasts. But that same power could be turned against it. He told Yin to strike its weak point and finish it. They already knew where it was. They charged forward. The crow's body was cut apart. It looked disappointed, as if it had hoped its luck would change, but Yuan had won. Yuan saw a slaughter rune inside its remains. He wondered if the true nature of exotic beasts was endless killing. After that, Uncle Dong shook him awake and said they were heading back. He asked if the flock of crows had scared him. Yuan opened his eyes and said no. Uncle Dong told Auntie Sue that Yuan looked exhausted. Yuan asked Uncle Dong where he should train if he wanted to become stronger. Uncle Dong told him to go to the Star Tower, the best place for real combat training. It was late at night. Smarty and Yin were fast asleep. Yuan took the source seed out from the pot of cores. He remembered what happened inside the illusion. The seed only changed after absorbing his blood. Now he knew what it would look like after evolving, and he also knew that contracting with it required blood. So he cut his hand. He let the blood drip onto the seed. He decided to take a gamble, hoping it would become a spirit creature with offensive power. He was shocked by how quickly it absorbed his blood. Suddenly, he heard a loud voice in his mind, urging him to keep going and not stop. They were now connected mentally, and Yuan could feel an overwhelming sense of hunger coming from it. He lost so much blood that his face turned pale. He relied on the Lily Luara to slow the bleeding. Eventually, it stopped. The seed had turned into a plant. He did not expect it to need that much blood. Since it was plant-based, he thought it might have something like a carnivorous plant's mouth, just like it did in the illusion. What appeared before him was a strange humanoid plant. It had a rose-like flower for a head and a wide grin filled with sharp teeth. Yuan stared in amazement. This was exactly what he wanted. From that moment on, he named it Red Thorn. He tried feeding it a radish, but it shook its head. He tried giving it a core, but it refused again. Yuan grew nervous. He was afraid it wanted more of his blood, and he knew he could not handle that again. Smarty woke up and told him to get some sleep. Yuan said he was fine. He knew that Smarty and Yin were exhausted from the previous day. Smarty noticed the plant and realized it looked similar to the one from the illusion. Yuan introduced it as Red Thorn, their new companion. Smarty became excited. He asked if it would be as strong as it was back then. Feeling a bit jealous, he also asked if he would become stronger too. Yuan warned him not to rush. Smarty was only at elite rank for now. Once he reached the copper tier, there would be a major change, and he would step into a completely new level. Yin woke up and asked what they were talking about. Yuan suggested that they all rest and recover for now, so they could prepare to break through to the copper tier. A week later, they gathered in the backyard. Yuan's body had recovered a lot. While nurturing the source seed, his spiritual energy had also become purer. Breaking through to the copper tier should no longer be difficult. Golden energy wrapped around Yin. She evolved into a flowing cloud azure bird from the blue sparrow family of the winged bird genus. She reached copper tier, 1 out of 10. She had sound and air attributes and common quality. Her skills were Sound Spike, which fired 3 sound-formed spikes at a target, and Turbulent Flow, where she flapped her wings to release fast and unstable air currents. Yuan felt confused. Normally, there should have been a songstress bird stage between her old form and this one. But Yin barely changed at elite rank, and her species had stayed the same. It felt like she had skipped a stage entirely. Now it was time to choose her trait. The options were Oily Feathers, which reduced damage by coating her feathers with oil; Clear Skies, which dispersed clouds and cleared the sky after her song ended; and Borrowed Wind, which reduced stamina use during flight. Yuan did not expect to see 3 choices. He thought carefully. In group fights like the one in the illusion, reducing damage or moving faster might still lead to them being controlled. but an ability that changed the weather could help them escape danger or even counterattack, just like Daisy once did. In the end, he chose clear skies. Smarty told Yin that she looked more refined now. Yin was delighted. She said she could now sing and dance at the same time during her live streams. Smarty got excited and said it was his turn next. Yuen told him not to rush. When the process started, Smarty looked uncomfortable. Yuen was about to suggest stopping, but Smarty insisted on continuing. Yuen finished it as quickly as possible. Smarty's spiritual energy was very stable, so Yuan believed there would be no issue. Smarty suddenly told him to wait. His nose felt itchy. When he sneezed, his appearance changed. Yuan was disappointed by how plain the evolution looked. Yin encouraged Smarty to check himself, so she brought over a mirror. Smarty was thrilled. He said he now looked like a scholar. The trait selection appeared with 3 options. The first was Dust Ward, which repelled dust and kept the surroundings clean. The second was Item Form, which allowed him to turn into an item for his contractor to use. The third was Pain Amplification, which multiplied the pain felt by enemies after he attacked them, based on a mental force check. From a combat standpoint, Dust Ward countered earth and sand users. Pain Amplification increased damage output. As for Item Form, it felt like a gamble. Smarty suggested choosing Item Form. Yuen asked if he was sure. Smarty explained that he was not a combat-type spirit creature, so the other 2 options would not help him much in battle. Yuen thought the explanation was brutally honest. Smarty rushed toward him and threatened that if he turned into something useless, he would cut off his own tail and end it all. Smarty's new status appeared. He was now a Bikesun beast from the spirit feline family of the wisdom cat genus. He was Copper Tier, 1 out of 10. He was a mental-type spirit creature with common quality. His skills included precise memory, which allowed him to remember even the smallest details, and knowledge analysis, which let him analyze stored information from multiple angles. His exclusive trait was Item Form, allowing him to transform into an item for his contractor. Yuen activated Item Form. Smarty turned into a pair of glasses. Smarty was disappointed. Yuen told him they would not know its real power until he wore them. Yuen put on the glasses. When he looked at Yin, information appeared. It showed that she was happy with her evolution. It also revealed her thoughts, like how she was craving chestnut and meat floss bread from the next street. A profile of the flowing cloud azure bird appeared as well, explaining that they usually lived in high mountains. There was even a reminder telling Yuen not to forget to brush her feathers. He was deeply impressed. Then he noticed something else. Redthorn's thoughts contained only one thing: aberrant insects. Yuen realized that this must be what Redthorn wanted to eat. Sister Shin answered Yuan's call and told him that she had insect corpses and could give them to him for free. Even 100 wouldn't be a problem. After the call, she fell into thought. This time, Yuen didn't ask for spiritual materials. Instead, he wanted insect corpses. It made her curious about what kind of breeding base he was building, and she started considering giving him a small test. Yuen didn't expect her to really have them. Smarty was the one who told him she would. Soon enough, he received the delivery. He fed one of the insect corpses to Redthorn, but Redthorn swallowed everything in the bucket in one go. After eating, it started glowing. Yuen wondered if it was about to evolve. Redthorn was a predatory plant from the Romaceae, Rafflesia family. Its spiritual level was normal, and its spiritual type was source type. Its skill was Mouth of Ritual, which allowed it to secrete massive amounts of digestive fluid. The fluid was extremely corrosive and could rapidly digest energy from food. It dumped the remaining contents of the bucket straight into its mouth. Yin complained that it had terrible manners. Smarty added that its saliva was corrosive too, making it quite dangerous. Yuen reassured them that it was only acting like that because it was starving, so there was nothing to worry about. Yuen realized that its appetite was frightening. The 300 corpses he bought would last at most 3 days, especially with the addition of dragon beast blood. He started wondering if the cash flow from his small online shop could keep up. When he checked his balance, he had 398.2 Radiance coins. It was a huge amount. He noticed that the Spirit Siphon goldfish and copper-grade green vines were selling extremely well. He would need to restock again. A new message arrived from Cloudstream. She complained that she couldn't even find a single transparent web and demanded that he send 5 more as soon as possible. Right after that, she transferred the money. Yuen commented that her luck was terrible. Because of her order, he now had to restock web-spraying spiders as well. Yin and Smarty overheard him and immediately demanded that he take them along. Yuen asked why, since he was only going to restock. Yin explained that ever since they returned from the dimensional rift, they wanted to know how strong they really were. Smarty added that they didn't want to be helpless again if they encountered exotic insects. Yuan joked that if that was the case, then if a sudden crisis hit Xia County next time, they would become Radiance heroes. Yin Yin became excited, saying that would make them one of a kind in the Federation. Smarty, however, said that wasn't true. He then told them a story. 2 years ago, in Frost City of the Radiance Federation, a member of the Radiance 100 sequence ranked 39 faced a Class 3-dimensional rift alone. He held back the insect tide by himself for 30 minutes, stopping Frost City from turning into a living hell. Yuan was impressed that Smarty even knew about something like that. Smarty said he had read old news articles when he got tired of studying. Yin Yin asked what happened to that 100 sequence member afterward. Meanwhile, inside a shop, a staff member argued with the boss about pinning their hopes on a shop that had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. Sister Shin asked if they had a problem with her sales strategy. The staff complained that she had used a huge amount of funds to buy dragon beast blood and was now purchasing insect corpses in massive quantities. The buyer, she claimed, was just a newly opened shop on the Star Web. To them, it sounded unreasonable. They were worried that if she got scammed, they wouldn't even be able to pay salaries next month. At that moment, Yuan walked in and commented that things seemed lively. He asked if he had come at a bad time since it looked like they were arguing. Sister Shin smiled and said it was just a simple meeting to plan their main products for the next quarter, and everyone was sharing opinions. Yuan didn't pry further. He told her he wanted to buy 3,000 insect corpses. On top of that, he needed 10,000 pounds of low-grade energy ores, half a pound of butterfly shells, 40 normal-grade spirit siphon goldfish, and 5 elite-grade level 10 web-spraying spiders of perfect quality. He paid everything up front. The staff turned pale when they heard the size of the order and the upfront payment. Sister Shin asked why they were still standing around. She introduced Yuan as the partner of their new shop and told them to give him VIP treatment. The staff immediately became enthusiastic and helped him with everything. Sister Shin had already guessed that he would restock normal-grade spirit siphon goldfish, but she believed he would also be interested in something special. She brought out a pregnant elite-grade spirit siphon goldfish mother, 5 Fortune Ranchu. Yuan was stunned. A spirit siphon goldfish could produce over 1,000 offspring in a single pregnancy. Normally, without enough spiritual energy, most of the eggs wouldn't survive. But inside the Spirit Lock Spatial Zone spirit pool, survival wouldn't be an issue at all. On top of that, 5 Fortune Ranchu was extremely popular. Yuan took it without hesitation. He also asked to collect the dragon beast blood he had ordered earlier. Sister Shin smiled, satisfied that her guess was correct. She suspected there was a creation master behind Yuan's shop. Anyone capable of handling a pregnant 5 Fortune Ranchu had to be at least a 2-star creation master or higher. The prices were quickly settled. Dragon beast blood cost 240 radiance coins, the 5 Fortune Ranchu cost 80, and the web-spraying spiders, energy ores, and other items totaled 60 radiance coins. After completing the transaction, Yuan left. The staff personally saw him off, now fully aware that they had underestimated Sister Shin's connections. Smarty asked where they were heading next. Yuan asked if they still wanted to test their strength. If so, they could go to the Star Tower that Uncle Dong had mentioned. Star Tower was one of the most unique facilities on the Star Web. It offered training, simulated battles, and ladder matches. It also hosted many combat-type competitions and was known as a paradise for combat spiritual creatures. Smarty stared at the towering structure. Players could only climb 1 floor for every win, and they had to fight at least once a month. He had heard that there was a promotion match on the 100th floor. Passing it would allow them to enter the ladder and become Hall of Fame-level players. Yuan told him he was getting ahead of himself. Reaching the 100th floor on their first climb was impossible. Yuan informed the staff that he was registering for the first time. The staff member didn't even look up. While reading his book, he told Yuan to fill out the form himself and said they would input the information later. He warned Yuan not to disturb him, since the Creation Master exam was coming up soon. Smarty frowned at the lack of hospitality, but Yuan understood. With the exam approaching, everyone was under pressure. The form submission was successful. Yuan was told to stand still until the scan finished. The results showed the 100 Questions Beast and the Soundbird at Bronze Rank 1, while Mobius was Elite Rank 7 with Epic quality. All records, matches, wins, losses, and highest floor were at 0. The staff member was surprised by Yuan's spirit beasts. Some of them were things he couldn't even recognize. Smarty commented that he seemed to be the only one who had aged over the years. Yuan, originally, wanted Lily to compete, but releasing Mobius's Spirit Lock Spatial Zone was technically part of its own ability. Yin Yin asked which floor they needed to reach to face opponents at the Radiance 100 sequence level. Yuan told her not to be so ambitious. She said she was just curious. The staff answered that it would be at least above the 100th floor. He added that there had been some unusual cases over the past 2 days, so it would be best not to run into those people on their first visit to Star Tower. Yuan wondered if that meant there was a chance to challenge strong opponents early. Yin was already looking forward to it. They entered the player preparation room. Inside, they could even set the battlefield and weather conditions. Matchmaking would be based on their first battle. Their first opponent was a battle-hardened veteran with 471 matches. Yin asked if that meant he was strong. Yuan thought probably not, since his highest floor was only 3. That meant he likely got crushed every single match. The battlefield was an open grassland in the morning. The weather was sunny, with no special mechanisms. Yuan decided to send Smarty out first. His exaggerated gestures made Smarty complain that Yuan had been watching too many cartoons. The old man on the other side looked like he could barely stand. He was happy to run into a rookie. If he won this match, he wouldn't need to fight again for the rest of the month. Smarty tried to switch places with Yin, but Yuan whispered for him to just finish it. Since he was already there, he shouldn't go easy just because the opponent was old. The old man warned them not to underestimate the bond between him and his gray shell beetle. He ordered it to use Gnaw. Yuan was about to command Smarty to use a skill, but Smarty had already moved. He simply stepped on it. The old man let out a wail, accusing young people of being heartless. He said he had raised it with care and now had to bury his own child. Smarty argued that this was exactly why he wanted to swap out earlier. Yuan quickly tried to calm the old man, explaining that spiritual creatures weren't truly harmed inside the star web. Even so, Yuan felt disappointed. The match was far lower level than he had imagined. The system generated the next arena. It was nighttime in a ruined city. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the rules stated that the ruins would collapse once enough damage accumulated. A man released his yellow-spotted dog and ordered it to use scent trace so the enemy couldn't escape. At the same time, he commanded the tusk-digging boar to use tusk charge, aiming straight for its vital point. Yuan calmly instructed Yin to use sonic piercing. Yin struck both spirit beasts at once. The man cried out in disbelief, questioning why there was even a copper-tier spiritual creature on that floor. Yuan could only offer him an apologetic smile. As Yuan was teleported to another area, he replayed the man's words in his mind. Even on that floor. He didn't quite understand what he meant. Yuan wanted Smarty to join the next match, but Smarty refused. He felt frustrated. For over 10 matches now, Smarty hadn't been able to do anything before the battles ended. Yuan tried to comfort him, saying they would eventually meet an evenly matched opponent. He then checked the opponent for the next floor. It was Huang Chenglin, 27 years old, a power-type Reiki professional. He had 3 copper-tier spiritual creatures, a poison-fire python, an acid-mist python, and a swamp python. He openly displayed their information, clearly confident in his strength. That instantly excited Smarty and Yin. Finally, he would have a chance to show what he could do. They entered the arena. Chenglin looked surprised to see Yuan appear. He had assumed a newcomer would have given up and retreated by now. After checking Yuan's profile, he thought Yuan might be an expert, until he saw that he only brought a cat and a bird. He mockingly asked if they were there on a sightseeing trip. That confused our MC and even his beasts. To make matters worse, Yuan was a healing-type professional. Chenglin sneered, saying the bird might as well build a nest on the battlefield so people could eat eggs and recover. Yuan felt his patience snap. He told Chenglin that he talked too much and said he was ready to start anytime. Chenglin laughed, saying he didn't expect a newcomer who wanted to lose so badly. He claimed he wasn't here to play house with a rookie and would end the fight using only 50% of his power. Just as Yuan suspected, a contractor's mental state affected their spiritual creatures. Chenglin's relaxed attitude made his snakes sluggish and careless. Yuan ordered Yin to use sonic piercing again, targeting the bellies of the 3 snakes. She darted past them and dropped her sharp feathers. To Yuan's surprise, one of the snakes blocked the attack with a spread of acid mist. Chenglin smirked and said he would have been more cautious if the little cat had joined the battle. But since the cat had turned into glasses, he didn't take the bird's attack power seriously. Yuan shouted back, telling him not to underestimate them. He ordered Yin to charge straight ahead and strike the acid mist python's nose. Chenglin assumed Yuan was rushing to his death. He casually commanded the poison fire python to unleash a blast of flames, saying Yuan should be grateful they were on Starweb. Otherwise, the little bird wouldn't even have a grave. Yuan replied that there was no need to worry. He ordered Mobius to open the spirit lock spatial zone. The flames caught up to Yin. Chenglin widened his eyes when he saw Yin crash straight into one of his snakes instead of retreating. Yuan told him to stop holding back because he was going all out. He pulled out Lily and activated its healing skill. Chenglin coldly warned him not to blame him for being ruthless. The blue snake charged forward. Yuan shouted for Yin Yin to dodge. It released a blue breath attack, forcing Yin Yin into a desperate retreat. Yuan realized the problem immediately. This was 1 versus 3. Yin Yin was alone on the field, and the pace was far too intense. Even the healing spiritual ki wouldn't last much longer. Smarty suddenly spoke up, saying the analysis of the poison fire python and acid mist python's spray components was complete. He even understood the principles behind them. They finally had a way to counterattack. Yuan immediately ordered Yin Yin to strike the poison fire python's eyes. They would eliminate one first. As the green snake released mist toward her, Yin Yin flew straight at the red snake. Chenglin dismissed it as a useless trick. He ordered the poison fire python to intensify its flames while the acid mist python sealed off her escape route. Yin Yin got trapped between the two snakes, but Yuan seized the opening and commanded Yin Yin to use turbulence. Yin Yin beat her wings furiously, pushing back both the fire and the mist. A stream of flame shot toward the red snake. When it mixed with the surrounding mist, it triggered a violent explosion. The green snake was instantly roasted. Chenglin clicked his tongue in annoyance and cursed it for being useless. Yuan praised Yin Yin, finally understanding that real combat required strategy, not brute force. Chenglin's mind flashed back to a bitter memory. He had once been thrown out and told to abandon his dream of becoming a retainer of the Chung family. His only worth was staying in the Star Tower, watching for minor characters who might someday threaten the young master. Panic surged through him. He couldn't afford to lose here. Before the chapter ends, Yuan's current spiritual creature levels are shown. Red Thorn is at common grade. Lily, Yin Yin, and Smarty are all copper tier. Mobius and the Goldfish are at elite grade. Thanks for watching, bros. If you enjoyed this update, make sure to drop a like and hit subscribe so you never miss the next chapter we upload here on Manhwa Updater. New episodes from the main Manhwa dealer channel will always land here every week, so stick around and stay updated. And hey, if you want more fire stories, check out the latest upload on the main channel right after this. As always, stay cool, stay awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.